All right, guys, we are live back with Nick Quintanilla in the house. I think this is Theoretically Speaking podcast, episode 14. That sounds so bad, I think, guys. Sorry, my stuff isn't together. We're just starting off, but we're trying to make it happen. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for everybody who's beginning to watch the channel. Man, matter of fact, bro, our last episode had the most views out of all my uploads.
Really?
So it seems like it's gaining traction.
That's awesome. You know, and it's so funny because I shared it too on mine, and usually I've done like 3 or 4 podcasts prior to that one. Everybody been like, oh, you sounded really good. I got 0 comments, 0 thing. I'm like, nobody watched it. Nobody hit it up. Clearly the numbers are different. You know, like I guess people checked it out and just decided not to tell me nothing.
Yeah.
But no, that's great, right? You know, people are watching what we're saying, and I mean, that's what we do it for, right? Just to kind of put some more words out there, how we feel about things, and hopefully people like listening to it. Like, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't know why other people want to hear it, but you know, if they like it, they like it.
It's the content, bro. It's the content. It's the content of what we're talking about, man. But anyways, bro. So, how's life, man?
Stressful. You know, so since the last podcast, I know I told myself I gave myself a month and a half or whatever like that. I did sign up for, I'm going to start my real estate courses next month already. I'm very happy. I got my sister involved in it too. And it's so funny because my uncle's the big time realtor. Shout out to Arnold Solis III. If you need a house, hit him up. He's the best realtor in the valley, probably state of Texas as well. But
what company is he with?
Arnold Solis Realty. He's
has his own thing.
Yes, he does. He's a broker himself. So this started out, and it's so funny how he headed there, and we were going to Cracker Barrel for Mother's Day dinner, and I got there late because I went to work that day. So I'm getting there, my kids already there, and I picked up my kids. We're running late because I'm getting them ready because I just got them from their mother, and we're heading to dinner. And I get there, I literally sit down, and my uncle's there with my aunt, and and then my sister's there with my parents, and we're all kind of talking. And all of a sudden, my uncle comes up, man, we were having this interesting conversation. I'm like, okay, like what's up? He goes, we're just wondering who would be a better realtor, you or your sister. And I just looked at her, I looked back at him, I was like, me, duh. Like, and then she looked at me like, I already do sales, like I'm already good at it. I'm like, well, I was like, you don't, look at me compared to you, look at my talking skills compared to yours. And like, I'm just talking shit at this point, but no, like me and her are very similar on things. Like, the only difference between us is she has the actual experience in sales, right?
What does she sell?
So she's got, right now she's selling insurance for USAA, which she does amazing. Like, she's got great numbers. Like, the evidence is there that she would probably do well in real estate as well, just different fields, right? She came all the way from, so she started off in selling cell phones. She worked at Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, and then finally she graduated, and then she moved into USAA, which she's very happy with. And that's why I was like, stay in your job. This is gonna be my thing. But so now there's this heated debate between us both, and it's like simply like she's been my best friend since I was like probably like 14, right? We both hit high school together. Like it was like that thing. I don't know if you have any brothers or sisters, Trey, but she's my only sister, my older sister, and it was that thing basically all throughout, basically up until middle school. We fought a lot, boom, like back and forth. She just wasn't a dude, so I couldn't hit her. But like we definitely poked at each other a lot. But we did share 1 year in high school. Her senior year was my freshman year at Harlan High School. And like, man, I don't know what happened that year between us, but boom, like we clicked, and we've been super close ever since. And it was to the point where like, man, like I never really asked my sister for stuff, but I remember like, oh, I forgot my lunch money. Like, hey, do you have money? Like things like going down to the senior table where I was like a little freshman, thinking like, okay, am I gonna survive this trip down here? Like, and no, like little things were like he actually like, oh, you need this? Well, here's $10. Like, go get whatever you want. I'm like, fucking $10. Like, lighting up at $10. Like, holy crap, going getting Cokes, pieces of pizza, and she took care of me, which I was like, that had never been a dynamic between us in our lives up until that point. Well, needless to say, I'm 32 now and she's 36 now. She's probably getting mad if I get that wrong. Nothing's changed. She still takes care of me.
And you were talking about who'd be a better realtor.
Yeah, we were talking about that. And it's just like I said, we've never had a rivalry before between us. We've always been super apart. She's a female, I'm a male. Definitely different interests in life. Like, I had kids, she had her things going on in life, but I won the disappointment in the family trophy because she went and got her degree, or like she had some stuff going on in her life where for a while I was the number one child in my family, And then I met the mother of my children, and that changed everything. And I forever lost that battle. You know, so right now she's up there. Like, now she got a degree. Like, she's doing very well for herself. Like, she's the number one aunt in the world. My sons love her to death. The only crime in the world is she hasn't had kids of her own. So I could be, you know, so I can spoil the hell out of her kids and like, be like, okay, I had fun with your kids, you can have them back now, kind of thing. But you know, like that's the one thing too, where you know, like, she's an amazing human being, and I love everything she's done in life, and she's really doing. The only thing is, of course, and we get definitely. I know we were talking about this for a podcast, like you know, like for somebody who's got her shit together, you know, she's single, you know, like she's dated a couple times here and there, but it's like to myself, like man, if she can't even get married or find a decent person to be with, how the hell am I gonna do that? You know, it's like, you know, all this stuff. But going back to real estate, yeah, I know, like we just kind of been looking at it. And she had played with the idea for a minute, thinking like, oh, like I want to do that as I want to do that like as a side hustle hobby, and I was like, okay, that's already like my thing. Where like, okay, I already have a level up on you there because I don't want this to be my hobby. I want this to be my life. Like I want that to be my new career. You know, selling houses. And like, yeah, I know it's a venture where like I am gonna have to keep my current job right now. It'll be a side hustle for a minute, you know, as soon as I get licensed, whatever. I already have an amazing broker who knows what the hell he's doing, and he lives a great lifestyle by doing it.
Yeah, it's definitely an advantage.
And it's one of those things where like, you know, a lot of real estate people who go into real estate, and you can attest to this too because you've done the tests already, you've already gone to the courses. Like, I don't believe they really train you, at least from what I heard. You can correct me if I'm wrong. They don't. In other words, they don't train you how to actually go sell houses. They teach you the laws, they teach you the rules, right? The things that are going by, and then boom, here's your license. Go sell houses, right? Go do your thing.
Yeah, that doesn't happen until you actually get with the brokerage, and then the broker takes you under his wing. You're basically subcontracted to the brokerage, so the broker doesn't make money unless you sell homes.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a good thing because he's incentivized to help you.
Yeah. Okay, so there you go, right? So the whole thing is kind of like you got to find somebody to mentor you, how to do all that stuff and go through it. And from what I've seen, man, it's so crazy because the real estate market right now is insanity right now. Just from what I've heard, and like I've seen some of the softwares that my uncle uses that I already. This is why I already tell them this is my big shit talking points. Like I already see what's going on. I'm already getting the blueprint on how to do this. You're selling insurance right now. That's cool, but like, you know, I'm already getting A to Z on how to sell homes. Like I'm already watching the master work at this and do it, how to talk to people, how to deal with certain people, and like, you know, the biggest thing is like, you know, you never know who's gonna buy, right? It could be the person who doesn't look. They could drive a a clunker ass car or whatever like that, but boom, they're gonna buy a $300,000 home, and you're just like, what the hell? And then, or it could be a doctor who's just looking for like a small house somewhere over here or whatever, like, oh, like, that's gonna be from like my son later or whatever like that. You never know.
Yeah.
Right? So like, and I'm reading and experiencing all this now, and like I see the trials of the whole thing, because from what I've learned about real estate so far is that, like, you know, only out of all the people who are looking, only 3% buy. That's like the growing statistic. 3% out of like all the people you deal with, only 3% buy. Which I know it's kind of mind-boggling, but I guess from what I've seen and like with the softwares that are, so many people are constantly just looking. So many people are, and like, you know, and I guess it's just finding that 3% of people who are actually going to go through. Maybe the number varies, but remember, there's hundreds and hundreds. I'm even going to go to the point and say thousands of people are constantly looking at new homes, right, or another home to buy. So it's like I said, you've got to find the ones that actually want to buy, right? The ones that can make the offers, and like the thing also people to take seriously, because I've seen people straight up be like, oh, okay, that house is $200,000. I'm going to offer $150,000. House is $200,000. Like, you can offer that, but who's gonna take that seriously? Like, you know, it's a thing where like people don't realize, like, okay, like, you know, this isn't like I'm gonna make, or like, you can, right? You can offer $10, right? If they take the offer, that's your house. But you know, it's just learning who to take serious, how to do the process, and like, you know, I just feel like I'm cheating at this point. Like I'm already writing down all the cheat codes, and when I finally get into it, I already have a good leg up. And of course, yeah, I have to. The other parts in the person-to-person stuff, which I think I'm pretty good at doing already. I feel like I have good people skills, and their thing was like, oh, you can talk yourself out of sell. Like, shut the fuck up! I'm never gonna talk myself out of sell. You're telling me you think that if somebody finally says yes, I'm gonna buy, I'm gonna keep talking until they say no. I'm like, come on, I'm not that dumb.
I mean, I think generally people just don't understand money, bro.
Yeah.
And like I think a lot of people, they look for a home, but they don't understand the approval process, the credit required, the income required, the 2 years of the underwriting is a pretty strict process. You know, that's why they say don't do anything on your credit before you get approved for this home loan to move forward, or before we close, that's because buying a house is even a level up from buying a car. Because when I work in the car industry, bro, we have so many people that would walk onto the dealership and want a car, and they were duds, you know, and we would try to treat them respectfully as customers and stuff. But right when we would take their application back to the desk managers, man, the desk managers would be like, man, you know, just like pretty much like, man, just let this guy down easy, try to get rid of this guy, you know, because they're just essentially wasting our time and stuff. And then they don't understand the process, bro. I remember this one particular guy, he kept showing me his phone on how he had like a 780 credit score, and he wanted a lower payment. And he didn't understand that the math is simple, bro. It doesn't matter if your freaking credit score is 1,000. If you want a $40,000 vehicle on a 72-month term, you just do the math. You could have a 0% interest rate. It doesn't matter. That freaking payment is gonna be that, because you gotta pay $40,000.
And then you go to 84 months and it goes down a little bit. You're just paying for the rest of your life.
That's it. That's all you can change. There's 3 variables you can change: price, term, and interest. You know what I'm saying? But once you get them, and bro, that dude just kept showing me his credit score like it was gonna just do magic.
Thank you.
But anyways, man. So you and your sister, you're gonna get it in a 1 month. What are you gonna go through? What courses are you gonna?
So we saw one there. She sent me this. I know I feel lazy to do it, but like we looked into it. Honestly, it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, can I trust her? I have it here actually. What is it? Let me look, because I looked at it. I signed. I did that dumb thing where I didn't read what I just signed or what I sent money to. But she sent me this thing. Where is it? But yeah, I'll show you right now, because it was one of those things where it's actually what I like. The one reason why I said absolutely yes immediately is she was like, look, the thing is, if you don't pass, you're gonna get your money back. It's got like a 77%. This course on the label said he had a 77% chance of passing, or that's how like their statistics are. And I was like, you know what? I mean, I joked with her. I'm like, well, I'm gonna need about 95% for me to commit. And then she kind of said to me like, you're stupid. I'm like, yes, but you know, it's a lot. I just told her. Anyway, I just made a dumb joke about it, but we talked, and then she was like, yeah, no, let's go for it. And I just talked about it. You know what? Like now that I have like my sister here with it, like I have somebody to study with. You know, I have somebody, like if I have a question, like, you know, I don't know, you went through the process by yourself, I'm assuming, right? And like, you know, and I don't know how hard the courses are, but I'm sorry, I can't do 2 things at once. You know, like I always thought to myself, and that's because we have another friend that wants to join in on this too, like, hey, we'll all do it together. If we, like, you know, let's all knock it out as a team, and then later, like, and my uncle's just like eating this up because, like, okay, I have 3 new realtors in possibility. And like, you know, of course he's thinking money, you know, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, you know what, like, I'm gonna start getting, I'm gonna start throwing people your fucking way. I better get some commission points or some points out of this when you're making money off these people. Because yeah, no, that's a thing too, right? Like, these guys are incentivized. So the course, what is it? ACE, what is it? ACE, Able Agents? I'm sorry, I know it's ACE. Look at that. But anyway, I'll send it to you later just so I can show so you see it. But that's what she sent me, and it's just the big thing on it was I think he said it had I know I sound like an idiot right now. Unprepared. In other words, it was one of those that she just put. It was certified. What is it? Just show you. But yeah, no. Anyway, I want to say it's like the company's called ACE. ACE.
And there's a lot of companies.
That's why when I scrolled through, I showed her the one that you sent me, and she's like, okay, that's cool. She's like, we'll keep that there. And I guess she scrolled like for like a night. She's like, oh, I found this one. And I think another person like showed her another one too, and that's the one where she was like, I think this is what we're gonna do, because like I don't know, like what I was just surprised was that how many places would be like, oh, if you take the test, if you don't pass it, then we're gonna give you your money back. Is that, like I said, why that's a great thing. Like, you know, you take a chance, you pay the money, you either get what you're getting or not. If you fail, there's no risk, or like, you know, the risk to reward is pretty in your favor on that, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why, like, I was like, okay, let's do it. I'm done. You know, it sounded like a good investment to do. So we're gonna start that, like I said, in June. You know, we're like I think I have another friend that's also inquiring about doing it together. So like I've never thought about or never thought I'd get in an adventure like this, and already boom, like there's already a group of people like okay, we all have the same goal, and I know going forward thinking okay, like that can kind of suck, going like the market is the way the market is. There's already a ton of realtors out there trying to make money. So I'm thinking okay, are we saturating? Like are we basically raising our competition with us? As it comes to sales. But then I thought to myself, let's get the license first before we start thinking about the cutthroat part of the business where everyone's trying to make money. And
well, they say there's a ton of realtors out there, bro, but I don't think you're necessarily saturating it because I think a lot of realtors are inactive. A lot of them are inactive. I remember speaking to one realtor and he said the same thing. Oh no, man, there's a ton of realtors, man. But I think I think he really had a closed and a negative mindset for one.
For sure.
And then the ones that are active, bro, I'd say only like a top percent, man, 10-20% are really passionate about realty. Those are the real money makers and stuff. And then on also beyond that, I'm not, like me personally, I'm not going just to get a real estate license and being a realtor. I want to understand all the processes of real estate from, the bank loans, the financing, other things that you can do with real estate, bro, like HELOCs, they're called HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, or also no. There's another one that's very similar. It's like its brother is called a home equity loan and stuff like that, bro. So, like, eventually I want to get to real estate investing because I don't want to just keep what's it called? The form of income where it's trading like time for money type of thing, kind of.
It's on the tip of my tongue. I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
It's man, I don't know, but I want to make passive income basically.
Yeah.
Is what my point. I want to get to the point where I own real estate and stuff like that. And bro, there's a lot you can do with real estate. But man, check this out, bro. This is a crazy story. In 2014, I got out with $385 más o menos $1,000, bro.
Okay.
From a lawsuit that I had from my sister passing away ultimately when she was a baby. But my point is that I was green. I didn't know anything about anything. The last job that I had was pretty much fast food jobs, Whataburger and stuff like that. I had no concept of money, finance, and everything. And that's really an unfortunate thing that people get out of high school and for the most part, don't understand the importance of credit and how money work and anything. But anyways, my point is, one of my cousins, bro, he gave me some advice and he's like, dude, why don't you buy like a duplex or fourplex? Invest some of that money in a duplex or fourplex, rent one of them, and then, have your money for the rest of them. And in my mind, I don't want to do that because I don't want my money to be tied up in that property.
Yeah.
So I thought I'm going to sacrifice liquidity for real estate.
Okay.
Right? But now my understanding of it is totally different, bro. And I think that's a common perception that people have about real estate, and they're afraid to get in a real estate for that reason because because I hear it all the time. I hear people often say it. They're saying, man, well, I invest in this, I'm not going to get my money back. I'm going to invest this, I'm not going to actually start making profit on it till after 10 years.
Yeah.
When it's paid off.
For sure.
Dude, that's not true. That's not true. That real estate, it's like literally the way you put money in your bank account, that real estate is a bank account.
Yeah.
You can draw from that bank account whenever you want. As long as there's certain minimal criteria going in, like you don't have the worst credit in the world and you're equity positive and not equity negative, and you know what I mean? You could put a good down payment on it. Bro, you can always go and get a HELOC, a home equity line of credit.
Yeah.
You can always take equity out of that property. And the good thing about real estate is that the appreciation rate of real estate is a whole lot better than the interest rate you're going to get from the bank when you put your money in a bank. So considering that, I mean, look at the circumstances we're in right now with the crazy inflation that we're looking at, bro. Literally, your money in the bank right now is literally losing value as far as its purchasing power.
Yeah.
So you actually, I mean, imagine if you had your money in account where let's say the return on that investment was 7 to 10% a year. Well, at the very least, at least you're not losing money in the form of purchasing power because your money is appreciating and you're gaining more money. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of real estate. Had I understood that then, I would have done it, bro. No brainer, for sure I would have done it. And I'd be in a way better position than I am now, bro. Like, I have a cousin, bro. Check this out. This is a crazy story. Man, bro, like, I should bring him in here, but he's not really a talker, man. He's good at talk. He could if he wants to. He's just not that. He's just not that personality type that he likes to talk on and on and on. You really gotta draw it out of him. But my whole point is he's a master electrician.
Okay.
Really smart dude. But check this out, man. He has wisdom, bro, because when he was young, his parents gave him some property, some land. But when he was young, he's a cuate. So him and his brother, there was an auction from PSJA school district, and they
Okay.
sold off some buildings that they had. Bro, they were like ISS buildings, bro. Like
Okay.
these little frame buildings that they
Yeah.
have out for, I don't know what the heck they use them for, band or practice or I don't know what. Anyways, bro, him and his brother got 2 buildings for like $15,000. So they were like $7,500 a piece. These
Okay.
buildings, bro. They each made those their homes. Like they gutted them, took them out, and made them like a little home, bro.
Okay.
Over the years, they've added on to them. So they're in construction because they're in electrical. So
Okay.
they rub shoulders with a lot of people that are mechanics, construction, and a lot of times they'll trade, bro. Like they'll do electrical work for a mechanic, and the mechanic will fix up the trucks. So all their trucks are like decked out. Not to mention, their dad is a truck driver by trade, and he also grew up poor, like working on cars and stuff. So he knows a lot of hands-on activities. So they learned that to a minimum from them. But my whole point is, over the years, they've added on to that house, bro. Fast forward to now. He recently got that property approved. Now, mind you, it's grown substantially, and
Yeah.
real estate has appreciated substantially, right, from
Sure.
when he first got that building. Okay, he got the house appraised. I'm gonna say I don't know what. He hasn't told me, but I know from a little bit what we spoke to. That house probably appraised somewhere around $200,000
Crazy, and he bought it for how much again?
for 10,000, or let's say 7,500. Him and his brother a piece, but they've added on over the years. So I want to say ballpark, bro. He's probably put somewhere around 50, maybe 50, $60,000 into that house. Because it's like little jobs at a time, little jobs at a time.
Yeah.
And it's also doing it in partnership with somebody who's working for him. So he's not really paying like the retail price for
We're doing
work.
trade for trade.
Yeah, that's like trade for trade, bro. And now, bro, that house is huge. Like the square footage, I'd say it's probably pushing somewhere around 3,000 square feet. This
That's
house.
crazy.
It's big, bro. The kitchen is huge. The open concept living room is huge. The boys' room, so he has like 4 kids himself, right? Between him and his wife. Between him and his wife. They have like 4 or 5, I forgot off the top of my head, bro.
Yeah.
But their boys' room is huge. So my point is, he got that appraised. I think he did a HELOC too, like a home equity line of credit or a home equity loan, and he took out money out of that. And then he purchased a house in Westaco, renovating it to flip it. He has his wife had a house. She moved in with him. They put that up on Airbnb. They purchased another little house. It was a 2-room house, a little small one. They put both of those rooms up on Airbnb. Recently, he bought a condo at the island. So my point is that now he owns about 1, 2, 3. He owns about 3 properties, and I think he's gonna flip another one, which is a house in Westaco, bro.
Crazy.
So my whole point of that, bro, is that even though it's not all equity, right, because there's certain probably down payments that he put in that stuff, right, and he still owes mortgages and payments on that stuff, but like as far as like net worth, like portfolio, under his name, he probably already has millions of dollars of real estate,
That's crazy.
just like that.
And it all started off with one little place that was like $7,500.
Yeah, so
You know?
from that $200,000 home, he took out equity in that.
Yeah.
Let's say you put 20% down payment respectively on each one of these properties. Let's say each one of these properties is $300,000. So you put 20% down, so it'd be $60,000.
Okay.
So among 3 properties, and it's not that because some of the properties were cheaper. Let's say 200 because some of them are cheaper. So 20% would be $40,000. So 40,000 out of the $200,000 that you could get on an equity loan, you put 120,000 on 20% down on 3 different properties, and all of those properties being valued at 200,000, so that's 600,000, so 6, 7, 8. So somewhere between $800 and $1 million worth of real estate in his portfolio.
That's crazy. That is crazy, man. And no, and it goes on to think that that's how you like try to make money. These things are out there. Like people are talking about this, and it's just actually going out there and doing it, getting those things done. Like you said, it's the last time we talked about people doing the work. You know, putting in all the time and the money. And like I said, that $7,500. That's nothing, right? And I'm pretty sure they got the building. There was nothing in there. They had to add to it. They had to invest. And from what I've learned over time too, and I know it's a pain in the butt, and it's something where like, yeah, I personally don't even like to do it, but like, you have to make your home yours. You have to add on stuff. My neighbor, he has a cookie cutter house like mine too. I got my home with Harlingen Developers. I was low income when I got it, and small basic little house, nothing really pretty. My neighbor has almost the same house, and what he decided to do, he poured a big ass concrete slab in the back, bought a gazebo from Sam's. It looks amazing. Bought the outdoor furniture. it looks like a completely different house in the back now. Like I'm like, oh crap! And I always told myself, man, I think I wanted to add like a deck or something out there because like I have all of like maybe like 8 by 4 of a back porch. It's real tiny, real small area. But when I saw what he did, I'm like, man, like that's something like you have to have the vision. You have to dream. Okay, let me go do the work. Everyone used to watch MTV Cribs. Everyone used to watch so many shows where like, oh, there's amazing houses. Somebody designed that way. Somebody had a vision of it. I'm speaking from personal experience. I said like I walked into my house. I was like, when I first got it, I'm like, fuck, this sucks. Like like it's real basic, real this. I'm like, and I remember when I grew up in the house that I grew up in, like my mom and dad, they put so much into that home. The one I grew up in, right? It's very similar to mine. Except the only reason, like, I was like, man, like, I remember certain things of how they designed that first house, where it looked like it had a big living room. It looked like it had a big dining room, but when I went back and looked at it, I'm like, oh no, nothing's very big. It's just the way the layout is, and like that's the same with the thing with my house too. Like, it was designed to look different, but it's only so much, right?
Yeah.
So having said all that too, like I said, going back to my neighbor, he saw that stuff too. He's like, well, I want a place to chill in my backyard. I want all this stuff. So yeah, no, he went out there. They got their income tax from their kids. Boom, that was their investment. He got some guy to pour cement out there. What I'm getting at is that like you have to visualize what you want to do with your home and start adding to it slowly by process. Okay, like this year I want to add this. These are supposed to be 30-year investments, right? Like mortgages, right? If you get a better job, that's the average at least from. Right, I heard that was what I got, 30-year mortgage, right? And I was like, okay, well, I'm here for 30 years. I've already been there 8. I haven't done anything in my house, not one thing. I maybe put up a couple things like shelves or whatever like that, and that's it. Where other people
How much land is it on?
It's on. I think it's like on a. I want to say what is it like a. It's like a quarter acre now. Is that like the average? Like it was down a neighborhood.
I think like if it's in a subdivision, I think the average now is less than a quarter.
Okay, so it's probably a little less. So it's a decent little piece of land. Like and like it's down a neighborhood. I know I should probably know what that is, but it's just like to one of those things where like there's not a lot, but like you people. Like, this is one thing I credited a lot to. Like I credit this a lot big time to like women. Women will see stuff at the store. Oh, I can go in my house, put it there. I can do this, and like they make their home a home, right? Me, like I'm a dude. Like I walk in, I have a table where I put my stuff. I I have certain things. I have pictures of my kids up, whatever. And that's about it. Like when I grew up, I was never the guy who put a ton of posters up in my room. I never really made it like my room. This is where I sleep. This is where I do shit. And I leave.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it is. That's how I got. My kids now, and it's so funny because I recently did this with them where I was like, oh, they were like, oh, we had these posters that they had. They were in the closet, like rolled up. I was thinking like, why did I buy them those posters if we never put them up? So finally, I found some tacks that I had in my drawer. I was like, hey, I talked to them all like, okay, well this is your side of the room, this is your side of the room. You have all these posters, like, do you want to put them up? Like, well, yeah, we can do that. I'm like, yeah, why not? So now these kids are constantly just looking like, okay, what else can I put up in my room? And it was so funny because my younger son, they were at Peter Piper's. And apparently, I don't know if you know those college flags, whatever like that. They used to be real popular back in the day. I don't know if they're a thing. Yeah, it's like that, like the triangle like that. Yeah. Now they make them to where like they hang upside down. It's like a thing where like it like that. They have the school mascot or whatever. Right? Well, there was a cheap little Dallas Cowboys one there at Peter Piper's. I don't know how much tickets he spent on it. He goes, hey Dad, look what I got. Right? He showed it to me. I was like, okay, cool, that's what's up. He goes, I can't wait to put this up in my room. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing. I let them do that now. And yeah, no, so now they're seeing it a whole different way. Because like when I grew up, I wasn't allowed to do it. I guess that maybe how I grew up. My parents didn't want me putting shit up in my room. I was like, okay, whatever. And like I met so many other people like, oh, apparently their room was like just plastered with stuff. Like you couldn't see the wall. There were just posters everywhere. And I was like, man, no, like I didn't grow up that way. And I guess that's maybe why I got the mentality like, oh, that is what it is. Like, I don't really care to put stuff up. And then the one thing I've been trying to do, and I'm like, okay, I'm a grown man, I'm 32 years old. I probably have like, I'm gonna call it maybe like 40 medals from all the competitions I've ever done in jiu-jitsu. I'm being like, okay, is it weird for a grown man to have a wall full of medals in his room? Like, people are coming over to see, like, I just thought to myself, is that weird? Like, would somebody do like, and I told myself, well, one, I was like, why do I care, right? Why do I care what the people think? But then I was thinking to myself too, like, okay, like, is there a place I should put those? Like, should I put, like, my mom was like, put them in your garage. I'm like, no one's in my fucking garage. Why would I put them up there where no one can see them? Like, the whole point was to put it all, and then I had this imagery, and like, it was supposed to be me and my kids, with my kids that never really came through with jiu-jitsu, or like their own thing, but I was like, man, like, I want a wall, like somewhere, and I was like thinking, like, of course, I have to like really plan out how I do it, but I want something where people walk in, or maybe even as we were walking in, like, where all of our medals, all of our trophies for whatever we do in life, whatever, like, is there on the side.
Yeah.
As you walk in, like, oh shit, look at, oh, he's done all this. It's like, okay, whatever. It's not a big thing, but like, I have a stack full of medals that I competed for, and they're in a drawer right now.
Yeah.
And I know, and like, it's like you said, if somebody, it would, like, when people graduate or people they put a certificate up, right? Like, I did that. That's my thing. That's why I'm here now.
Yeah.
And I walked to myself, well, I don't have one of those, but I did win at a sport a few times. Why not put that up?
Yeah.
You know, I did that. You know, little things. And if I ever do get a degree or I do get something, I'm gonna put that shit up too, just because, like, hey, I can. You know, and I earned it. You know, that's the biggest thing I've told my kids too. Like, when you earn shit, like, you know, don't be afraid to celebrate it. Don't be afraid to put it up there. Like, there's so many people that'll never do what you do. And like, you know, and whatever it is, right? There's so many people, like, so you could say, hey, why not share it with the world? Why not put it out there? I know I used to have it became a thing when I was competing often, where like I would make this video. It was that I forget what song it is, but it was that DJ Khaled song, All I Do Is Win.
Yeah.
And even though a lot of times I had like all these ridiculous, like, losing bronze medals, losing silver medals, but like I would take a trip to where that drawer was. It used to be in my room. I moved it out of there. And after every tournament, I would grab my medals I'd have in my hand. I basically did this little number where I had my phone here, I had the medals in my hand, open up the drawer where all my medals are, put them in there, close the drawer, and close it off. Like, that was my day. And I have like 6 videos like that. And I thought to myself, man, like, I think the next venture is to put them all up, and every tournament after, put them up. Like, you know, for every competition I do, the next one I have, no matter if it's a gold, like, I thought to myself, raising the standard, like, okay, let's put up medals when we win.
Yeah.
Like, why are we gonna put up loser medals for it? You know, like, okay, I competed, congrats. Like, you know, here's your participation medal. That's actually why I love the sport, and I like big brackets, man, because, yeah, I know, unless you podium, you don't get shit. And that's what it should be, in my opinion. If you don't win, or if you don't make it to the podium, it was to the point where, like, I get it, like, if you only have one person in your division, like, yeah, you get the loser silver medal, but I feel like you should have to win to get medals. Like,
that's what I mean.
we did flag football this year. My team did terrible. We won one game. The best feeling of my life was winning one game with these kids. It was so great, from all the hardship of getting our butts kicked constantly. But like, you know, and like, but at the end of it all, they're like, oh, like we were like tied for last place within the team. But when we got there, like, I was picking up the pictures for the kids, passing out to my parents, and they was, oh, hey, you didn't get your trophies. I was like, trophies? Like, what trophies? Like, we didn't get anywhere near the. Oh no, every team gets a trophy. And I was like, immediately I thought that was lame. I was like, okay, like, you know, you could. I don't know what it would be to like say, hey, like, I mean, they got jerseys. They have proof that they were there. I guess that's maybe where it comes through. Like, I don't know. I've never gotten a participation award. I mean, I've gotten my butt kicked in competition. And okay, here's your loser bronze medal, or here's your loser silver medal. I've never just done really bad and like, here's your medal anyway, right? And I guess it's close, right? But
dude, it seems to be that like thing that they're doing now, and they've been doing it probably for well over a decade or something like that. But it's cultivated such a spirit of entitlement.
Yeah.
In the generations coming up now, and I think it's right. I don't have statistics or I don't have data, but it seems to be a bad thing, man.
I think so too, because and it's so funny because there's so many ideologies out there about like sports, and don't chase the medal, get better at your sport, like do. But in the end, you want to win, right? that's the whole point of competition. You want to win. You're there to like, you can say you're there to have fun. Well, fuck, it's fun to win, you know. And the thing is, like, you know, I like, how can I put it? The first time I lost in competition, which was I think maybe my third tournament, actually it was a super fight. I got my butt whipped bad. And the girl, it was one of those things where like, they gave the guy a belt, and they were supposed to give the loser a medal. And the girl came up to me because we were the last fight of the night. The girl goes, oh, I'm out of medal, sorry. I'm like, and I literally said this without even thinking. I'm like, oh, it's okay, I lost, I don't deserve a medal. It's all good. And then later I looked at myself, did I just fucking say that? Like, what the? And I thought to myself, well, that's true, right? Like, you know, winners deserve the prize, and if you lost, go home and get better, come back and win. You know, that's the way it should be. And I feel like when they started doing stuff like that, the whole entitlement thing, like, now you have a bunch of, like, you know, what did you really earn? Did you work hard? Like, you go back to like the 80s and the 90s, man, you had to make, or I would say even the early 2000s, you had to make teams. Certain teams like basketball, like certain teams that don't have too big of crowds, right? Like it's called. I would even go down and say like tennis, right? You gotta get on to get the competition team. So having said all that, like there used to be a chance that you didn't even get to play the sport you want to play. You didn't even make the team.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing. all the years I played football, I never had to do that. I was always either on one team or the other, right? There was enough players, there was enough teams where nobody got cut just because there wasn't enough space, right? But there was definitely, before I finish the thought, there was definitely a thing where like, but you had to earn your playing time.
Yeah.
Right? You had to earn that. You know, not like compared to where like I came from, these kids are going to the Boys and Girls Club, you know, right? That's the local place where the kids play sports before like middle school, all that, where the kids have to play. They tell the coaches, you put 5 in, everybody gets at least 10 kids, right? Or whatever, or at least 5 plus kids. But like every 5 minutes they have to change out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like, yeah, it's cool when you're little, but at one point the competition becomes real. Like there's gonna be that one guy who brings the whole good, like he's gonna find a way to play his best players more than the bad players, and they're gonna win more.
Yeah.
That's called strategy.
Yeah.
That is sports. You know, that's why when it comes to middle school, high school, the best players play the way it should be.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, like when I played sports, I wasn't always the best player. I had to, you know, rotate in. Like I only had like 1 or 2 chances to start like my varsity year, which I got hurt, and like I had one opportunity, I'll never forget it, where I was like, okay, finally they called my number, like, oh, we want you to try this out, like we need somebody there. Okay, cool, boom, I twisted my ankle 2 plays later, didn't even get the chance. They put the other guy back in that wasn't doing well, and they kept it that way. And I was so angry. But like you say, like, you know, I finally had earned that spot. You know, I got an opportunity to play because somebody was doing bad, and hey, that kid's not doing so bad. Let's try him out. You got to work hard for these things, man. You got to do it. And now, what are they basically telling us? Oh, and I'm sorry, I know you probably lost your spot already. But you know, like they're making it seem like, oh, like you should just be able to do these things. You don't have to work hard for them. Yeah. You know, there's a reason why. Like, and it's so funny. I think not Gary Vee, it's Ben Shapiro says it often. He goes, why don't I play in the NBA? Or he goes, why do 5'8" Jews why are they not consistently in the NBA, right? Because we're 5'8" and we're not that great at basketball.
Yeah.
You know, but like he said, but he goes, and his thing with that is like, yeah, something the taller guy, the more athletic guys, they're gonna play because they're the guys who work hard. Not to say that there's that 5'8" guy can't work hard, become a ball handler, like become a type of player and make the team.
Yeah.
But you have to work for it, right? Yeah. Like it's not. It's so crazy because I've seen when we coached this flag football, I had kids that were like, and mine included, were overweight, not very agile, can't really, you know, weren't good at chasing people down. Then I had like 4 or 5 kids that were good, that looked athletic, that could play the part. And man, it was like night and day. Thinking like, man, like how do I put all 5 kids on the field? And I figured it out. I can't. If I want to be successful, like okay, I could, but we're gonna lose every game, like we were doing.
Right. And
we didn't even start competing till 3 or 4 games in, to where I thought to myself, and I looked at 3 of my players. I told you guys, you guys are playing the whole game. Yeah. And I rotated the rest of them in. Yeah. Right, which I know I had kids constantly like, coach, am I gonna go in, coach? And I felt bad. It is a thing where I was like, man, this kind of sucks because I have kids who this is supposed to be fun. Everyone's supposed to be able to play. But I looked at the other coaches that were playing that were winning. Like they only had a handful of players because they were all good, and they kept those handful of players in.
Yeah.
So you know that's where I was like, man, like some of these guys all figured it out. And yeah, no, like I said, so if you don't push, you don't really try hard to do it, you're not gonna be successful. You're not gonna win. You're not gonna get what you want. Compared to nowadays, where like it's like, oh, I just signed up. Where's my trophy? I did that. Like I earned it. Instead of actually going and winning.
I know you're an agnostic and stuff, but and Jordan Peterson quotes this verse in the Bible too, right? But there's this verse where Jesus says, he says, to he who has much, even more will be given, and he who has little, even what he has will be taken from him. Yeah. Right? And it's a crazy concept. There was another verse that Jesus said in another place. He says when like the woman would like broke the flask and like all this perfume, and Judas was like, man, we should have sold that to the poor. And Jesus was like, you're always gonna have poor people, but you're not always gonna have me. And Jordan Peterson speaks about Pareto distribution. Have I ever told you about? Did I mention Pareto distribution?
I don't believe so.
So Pareto distribution it's kind of like a law, and basically it's a law that pretty much governs every area of life where there's human interaction, whether it's a job, sports, whatever the case may be. And basically what that law states is that 80% of the production in any particular activity is going to come from 20% of the people.
Yeah.
And from those 20% people, pretty much 50% of the production amongst those 20% is going to come from like 2 people.
Okay, yeah.
So you think of like the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, and the LeBron James of the NBA. I mean, the NBA is just the best of the best in the world, and even amongst the best of the best, there's like 5, right?
Yes, that are way better.
That are way better. You got a team of the best players in the world, and on that team, of let's say there's 10 that are being rotated in and out, but there's 5 playing at any one given time. One of them is making 40 points a game, and then the other one is like 18 and 12 and 8. You know what I'm saying? So that's Pareto distribution.
Okay.
But the whole point that I want to make about that, as it pertains to what we're talking about, as far as like giving these kids like participation awards and stuff like that, is that, bro, there's these natural laws, and I think one of these natural laws, and you learn it in sales.
Yeah.
One of them is the psychology of consensus, and basically, there's ways that we as humans gauge where we're at, how we're doing, what is true, what is a lie, what is false, and one of them is the psychology of consensus, bro, and they've even witnessed it like amongst animals and stuff like that, like deer. Like they used to think that like deer would run or go in a particular direction based on whoever that leader of the crowd was, but it's more of like a group consensus type of thing happening in real time in a moment's notice. So basically, like, if the majority of the group of deer like hears the noise and looks in one particular direction, is kind of startled. If like one of them takes off, like the rest of them will like start taking off and stuff like that, right? So I think it happens too with the psychology and consensus. And the thing is, in my opinion, when we give participation awards, we seem to undermine these natural laws that are put in place, because what we're doing is an individual who may be feeling bad about his situation and not actually getting the award in a way that he should get it by winning it or winning the competition or being a winner or whatever. We're basically saying, hey, look, because there's like a pleasure reward system that's going on. Yes. There's a long-term reward to be had from winning that particular award or that game or whatever, or that competition. There's a pleasure reward system in play. And what we're doing is we're hijacking that, and we're being like, hey, look, you didn't actually win, but here's this. So it's like an artificial dope of a feel-good hormone or dopamine or endorphins, and it's like, hey, man, you know. And the sad part is, bro, is that if that child comes to the point in his life where he's like, you know what, I don't have to win, at least I could get this. Yeah. Bro, you're basically you're sabotaging. You could potentially be sabotaging that child's life from an early age. This is the thing that I get so passionate about as far as when it comes to like video games and iPads and playing on that stuff, because that's essentially what it is. It's a hijacking of the pleasure reward system with an artificial input of dopamine and endorphins and stuff like that. For sure. That's what it is. That's why a lot of the Apple and that's why they don't let their kids play with these devices and stuff, because they know that. Now, the adult could kind of like gauge it and stuff, so they don't get too much of that, you know what I'm saying, so they could get a little bit as a reward and stuff. But for the most part, man, I don't let my kids play with it at all, because to a certain extent, I want them to be bored. Yeah. Because an empty mind basically is pretty much it's like the foundation. It's like the area where you start to become creative and know what to do with your time and all that stuff. But I mean, unless you're there, you won't get it. So, anyways, that's what I wanted to say about that.
And that's great, you know, and you're right about that, because like you say, it gives you this fake feeling that you did something. And then I'll say this to anybody who plays any kind of sport, and I'll even go to this like when you're at your work and you're competing for a promotion, right? If the guy and like not everything's always fair, right? The guy who kisses the most ass will probably get it, or you know, like the dude who has the most numbers, who's just way better than everybody else in their job. The guy, and there's a guy who's been there the longest, who, you know, whatever. Like, everyone has their aspects in there, right? And you got to do what you got to do to get your position, right? Or, like I said, you got to train, or you got to do whatever it takes to be the best, to put yourself in the best possible way to succeed, right? And when you're saying when they do this stuff, like you said, like, there's only one. When you do something, you want to, like, the whole point is win, right? Win is the big thing. Somebody's got to be the loser, right? And when you say no one loses, like, what do we learn from these things? Like, you know, like, that guy's got a gold medal, but mine's kind of gold, you know, and I got last place. So, like, same thing, right? Like, what we're talking about, right? Thinking, like, you still got something for losing, which, I mean, hey, man, and I'll tell everybody this, too. Everyone's like, oh, man, like, all you do is talk about is winning. Like, I have won, and I've lost a lot. You know, losing makes me want to win. You know, I know I talked about one of my ex's kids recently, and he was a big video game kid, would literally have tantrums about losing. Oh, I should have won. Oh, I should have done that. Which I was like, I like the idea. I just hate the way he went about it, right? Like, oh, okay, and I literally be like, okay, let's stop kicking and screaming and crying like a baby,
baby.
And let's get better. Let's get better. Like that, like why is that such a hard concept? Let's put some work in and let's get better.
Yeah.
Let's do something and like you know, like you said, and then like I said, coming back to putting the own work in your home, you gotta take this in stages. Like, you know, do I have bills? Yes. Do I wanna add like, you know, like I said, do I have like the 10 to 15 grand that my neighbor put in to his backyard? No, I don't. But what I could do is slowly plan it out. Okay, this is step one. Step two is this, right? You gotta literally, and like I said, I'm a single dad with one income. Like, you know, that's all I do. And I'm trying to get a second income, you know, trying to do little things here and there to make extra money. Like I said, I have dumb hobbies that take up that extra money that I should be saving. But, you know, the whole thing is like, you know, you gotta make plans. You gotta get there. Like, it's like I said, it's like if you, a lot of things, you plan it out. I need to work on this. I need to work on this. I need to build at that. I gotta build at this. You know, like make it up there. And I'm trying to compare like making your house better to where you want it to be. Like, you know, like I said, starting in a house that was under $10,000. You know, he built that up to the $200,000 place, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like me. You know, you take a child who's a little overweight and all that. You start to, hey, let's run, let's diet a little better, let's get more in shape, let's start playing basketball, let's start learning what plays are, let's start learning how to dribble better, you're building. Everything is constantly building up, right? It's that idea of thinking, okay, but everybody wants to be Kobe Bryant in one night. Everyone wants to be a black belt in one night, right?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that is the dream, but that's a great goal to have, right? Everybody should think LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan is the goal, but those guys worked at, yeah, they were talented, life isn't fair, survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
They got there because their bodies were able to take them there. They were gifted and talented, and you know they understood the games. They excelled. Not everybody's that lucky, right? But what do we have to do? Work harder to get there. So in all, like that's it. I think that part, like I said, everybody. Here you go. We look at all these shows, and it's media big time because you're seeing like this rapper has this crazy ass gold chain, this rapper has this ridiculous bouncy car on stupid big ass rims, or these ridiculous trucks that you know basically you get like a mile to the gallon, you know that, but it looks awesome, right? It could probably take sand dunes in like a minute, right? But all that stuff, those people, they don't show you the grind that it took to get there. You just see the end point. Right? Which a lot of things when we see a lot of end points. It makes us think, okay, we didn't see how it took to get there. Like if we went back to, it's your uncle or your cousin that had
my
that
cousin.
Okay, we went back to, like you said, I'm sure this is the only reason why I wish we had more social media, but I would have loved to see the process throughout the, okay, this is step one. Okay, I added this over here. This is my house. Okay, I gutted it out. I put this here. I put this sink in here. I like that sink or whatever. Or like, you know, this is like, you know, I like these shelves over here. I wanted to paint the wall a certain color. I want to, you know, we're gonna add a room here. We're gonna make this a room. You know, I had a, you know, hey, we're gonna start a garage, a carport. You know, we're gonna make it into a garage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put AC in that garage. I'm gonna make it clean, whatever. Like, so we can actually do shit in the garage, and it's not 150 degrees there when I want to do shit in the garage. Like, it's such a process. Everything's a process now, man. And I'm a human too, like everybody else. I hate the fact that I'm not one of the best in the world right now. Doing it after 6 years, and I know, and then when I go back and say something like that, I'm like, Nick, did you put in the work to try to be the best in the world right now?
Gordon Ryan trains, what, 6 days a week?
Yeah, and probably 3 or 4 times a day. You know, I mean, yeah.
Nuts,
and weight conditioning, strength training, like his girlfriend's a bodybuilder, like she's got his diet on point. Like, yes, there's definitely, these guys found ways, and they're talented. You know, that is the unfair advantage they have, right? But it's not, that's life, right? Some people are going to be better at things, some other people are going to understand things. You know, and in our sport for sure, some of the most dangerous dudes weigh 115 pounds. I'm 6'1", 260 pounds. Everyone would think, oh, that guy would kill this dude. But like I've got my butt kicked by the 115. I've gotten my butt kicked by the 115-pound ladies around here more than I can count. Thinking like, okay, my size and strength should have played a big part in this, but they're already more advanced in this game than I am, so they beat me.
Yeah.
You know, they're working harder. They've worked harder. They put themselves in this. So when you go to a competition or when you go to try to build something up, you're thinking, okay, like I've seen what other people have. What do I have to do to get there? Like you said, it's all about planning. It's all about building. And it's like I said, it's hard to do that when you give these kids, like I didn't even think about the video game part that you mentioned earlier. Like, oh, it gives them like, you know, this thing where like, you know, they're always like mesmerized in that. They're not seeing what's over there. They don't have a clear head like, oh, I want to do this or oh, I want to get better at that because they're occupied already. They're like, this is.
I think the argument can even be made that you're setting them up for drug use,
addiction.
addiction. On artificial, right? Because if somebody, let's say they're having a hard day, they're doing bad, and they come home and you're like, ah, man, my boss and this and that and whatever. It's like I didn't get the reward that I wanted from that relationship. I didn't get the reward that I was pursuing in that job. I didn't I didn't meet my quota in that area. But you know what? I'm gonna come home and I'm still gonna get this partition reward in the form of this 6-pack right here.
Yeah.
And I'm still gonna feel good. Screw you. I'm gonna get my feel good through this, right? And so it's the same like with drugs. It could be sex, it could be porn, right? You know what I'm saying? You're not getting what you want out of a relationship in the context of between you and a significant other, romantic other, a female or whatever. And so you're like, you know what? I'm still gonna get my feel good reward from this. I feel like that's what you're setting them up for.
Yeah, no, and you're right, because like it's so crazy. We're in the craziest time to be alive. Everything's in the palm of our hand, right here. Everything's right here. 25 years ago, shit, man, we barely had dial-up internet connection. We had our form of everything was all the TV, right? And that's because it's not streaming, it's not like that. It was literally what the news told you, what a few channels told you. If you knew how to find certain information, that's it, right? So you had to work to find out. You wanted to remember when encyclopedias were a fucking thing?
Yeah, bro. I had the Britannica.
Yeah, so my parents had that. Everybody had a fucking 18-book encyclopedia somewhere, right? That's how you used to get information, right? And so you had to work for it. You had to do some reading. You had to do some stuff. And like I said, I would never I love the time we're living in. I love that there's so much like you sign up for courses on your cell phone. You can take classes on a small computer anywhere, as long as you have an internet connection, right? And most of your internet connection is right here, so you can do it anywhere. It's so much easier to live today than it did, let's call it in the 90s, right?
That's crazy, bro.
Right, and that was only
like 20 years
that was only 20 years ago, right? And that's old now it was 22, 23 years ago, right? But yeah, we're getting old, brother. But it's just so crazy because, dude, we grew up in a time where hey, the excitement was, hey, let's go play outside, let's play with rocks, let's go shoot the ball around, let's throw a football, let's play tag, right? How many games of tag? And I know I have a few where I was like, fuck, I can't tag anybody, I'm too fucking slow. These guys have to trick somebody. I gotta outsmart somebody or sneak up behind somebody to get off of this and then run my ass off. Hopefully they don't tag me right back, right? Yeah. And that's a little thing too. You gotta be. It just says back then we worked harder. It was more physical. I mean, nowadays you can play video games like the Oculus or whatever it is. You wear the damn thing and you're doing whatever. You don't even have to leave your house to go see shit now. You can just see it from your living room in this virtual world. This stuff, you can play games on it, whatever, but it's mind-boggling the things that we have now. The things that we have now where you don't have to leave to see things, of course, right? I'd rather definitely take a vacation, go travel, and while I do hate traveling, I hate being in a place like that. But I'll tell you this though, I think it's amazing to be able to feel like you're walking around somewhere, being able to see. You don't feel it, right? But you're seeing things. I'm sure the feeling part's coming soon. I'm sure they'll put some suit on you one day. You can actually feel what it's like to be in the Sahara Desert or whatever. I don't know why anybody would want to experience that, but I'm just saying, I'm sure that stuff is coming. To the point, it's somebody brought up Demolition Man, the movie. That movie was made in the 90s, right? But one of their ways of receiving intimate pleasure from their partner, they no longer did physical things. They wore a fucking helmet. And that was it. He was like, what the hell? What the heck is this, right? And and he was like, why don't we touch each other anymore? And they're like, oh no, you gotta get a license for that shit. Like that. But it feels like that's crazy because I feel like that's the time we're heading in where everything is just. It's so funny because in a day and age where you have so many easy ways to talk to people, I feel like I talk to the least amount of people now than I ever have. I had a 2-hour conversation with a new friend of mine that I made yesterday. I'm like, holy crap, we're talking on the phone. It literally blew my mind. I'm talking to the phone with all this person. We're not texting. We did text, but she was driving home. She's like, oh, I'm not gonna text and drive, so I'm gonna call him. And I was like, okay. And her first answer was, she's like, oh wow, you answered. I'm like, well yeah, you called. She goes, yeah, most of the time when I call people, they don't answer. They'll just text me hey, what's up? They're like, well, I called you. I wanted to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm getting at, the whole point is that now everything is literally being done in front of us. I would say before we had to physically go out there and do things, physically go find things, physically work at things. And now I'm not even mad at the point where now we can do everything from the palm of our hands, all that stuff. But it was a different kind of work back then. We were raised differently.
I think it's a dangerous time that we're living in, bro.
For sure.
I think a great portion of the kind of life that we live in now is fantasy.
Yes.
I think a good percentage of it is fantasy, and that fantasy is built on and nurtured by tech.
Yes.
And what I mean by that, more specifically, to get a little bit more specific, is, you know, you're talking about how you used to talk to. I remember when I was a kid, a teenager and stuff, I used to talk to a girl on the phone.
Yeah.
And I remember even there was an aspect of that it was even fantasy. And what I mean by that is that when you're talking on the phone, you're not seeing a human's it was easier for me to tell a girl something on the phone than it was in person.
Yeah.
And that's because she couldn't see how nervous I was. I couldn't see her reaction. And so what I'm doing in my mind is I'm visualizing the most ideal reaction from her. And I know that she's doing the same thing, because I know that that's basically, and now at this point as an adult, I know that's the way the human brain works, especially as it pertains to like romantic relation. That's why whenever there's a new kid that enters a job or whatever, or a new girl or whatever, there's automatically like a greater attraction to that one particular person than, let's say, 6 months down the line when you get to know them. Because your mind automatically just thinks, you look at how they look, and that's your first impression, and then your mind just fantasizes from there. Now, take it a step further, we have tech, bro, where you're texting, right? And I know, obviously, from my experience, that a guy is gonna have this way greater level of boldness to text a girl a certain thing than he would in person and stuff. And now, you know what I'm saying? Now it's gonna go even further. So like, man, that's dangerous. You know, when you're talking about, you know, it's like Peter Parker's uncle told him, with greater power comes greater responsibility and stuff, man. And I feel like now, I mean, it's even hard for an adult to discipline themselves with these guys. Like, I'm kind of concerned about the direction that our society and our coaching is it's so highly sexualized, man. I mean, dude, I was actually just hearing a PragerU.
Bro. I'm sorry, keep going.
Go ahead. No.
I'm feeling you. No, I'm just thinking, like, dude, like, I have these conversations on the daily too, like what things are doing. Like I said, everything is sexualized now. Absolutely everything is. That's what people are literally selling that, and that's to the point. And it's to the point because, like, look, I get it, and honestly, like, and I'll tip my hat off to you, Ron, because you are a married man with your family. You're great. I mean, just from the outside, from looking at it, I don't know your personal life, but like, you look like you have a beautiful thing going for you right now. Or do.
Thank you.
And how many people really want that? I know for sure I do. I want a family. That's something I've always wanted. You know, I got close to it recently. Didn't work out, so now I'm on this thing again. But like you say too, like, and I wanted to talk to you about this, but I didn't think we were gonna segue to this. Just trying to date nowadays, man. You see so much the perfect bodies on TikTok, everything all over Instagram. But then when you go around looking around, like, people are so like. I know personally, and like lately, I've been blinded by it too, thinking like, I've been meeting people, I've been dating around, and I'm like, man, I'm so disappointed in certain things. I'm like, like, I don't like it. And I'm thinking, like, why am I not happy? Why am I not seeing these are good chicks? You know, they all seem decent. They got nice jobs. You know, they're working towards something. Why am I not like, okay, this is what's up? And it's because I'm looking at, like, you know, like fake perfection all day, or like, you know, I'm getting sent videos of people who look perfect or who work out all day or whatever. And I know that's a small percentage of people who get to that level, right? But like, I'm thinking, okay, we fantasize. Okay, that I want that. Or like I said, I know we talk about porn too. There's a bunch of perfect bodies there. Every body type you could ever really want is there. You can just type it up and it's yours, right? For a minute through a screen, right? But then you like kind of go through life and thinking, okay, like, well, you're thinking, that's what I want. That's what I think. Yes, it is achievable, but it's very unlikely. Like, you want that type of person. You want somebody that, like, yeah, they are out there. They're not like it, but like, you know, what is the standard that you're gonna get that one day, right? Not saying that you should never go after what you want to, but in other words, like.
And then also that ideal is very one-dimensional. Also,
for sure.
Like, let's say you get it,
the
freaking hottest chick that you could ever imagine, and she's just like you.
Yeah.
She wants the hottest dude, and you're not the hottest dude.
Exactly.
But maybe she settles for you, or maybe she has or maybe she's an Amber Heard, maybe she's a little bit loony. You know, I mean, she could have any one flaws or a number of flaws.
Oh, without a doubt, man. And that's why, like, I literally, this is why, like, with my last relationship, like, I hate to say it this way, and I got to other, like, I thought my ex-girlfriend was beautiful. A lot of people did not think that. And I think her character and the way she was the part that really kept me there.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was literally, like, I finally had that one relationship where, like, I had a best friend. You know, I'd never had that before. I've had partners, I've had people that I mess around with. I have people that, you know, like, there's different levels of things. This was the one person that I was like, man, like, I could really see this person every day and just hang out with them. You know, like, and that's where I told myself, man, like, it's like I raised the bar in my life, really. Like, if I don't have that in a person, like, do I even really want this? Like, is it real for me? You know, at that point? And I can tell you, like, you know, yes, do I fantasize about athleticness, you know, call it perfect body, let's just say that, right? yeah, everybody who doesn't want that, who doesn't like looking at that. And then I told myself, okay, it's so funny because I was telling my buddy yesterday, like, you know, I'm looking at myself. I'm overweight. I'm not happy with where I'm at right now. I'm actually heavy, and I've been letting myself, like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get on it. Boom, I fuck up after 2 days. Taco Bell wins again. You know, we talked about last time. But I'm just saying, like, you know, but it's little things like that too, or like, how are you motivated? Are you, like you said, people gotta work for that. Like you said, that person over there, yeah, like, and I hate this stupid thing that everyone's, oh, like, I love dad bods. I'm like, nobody fucking likes a dad bod. Okay, that's what you go into a person, you like them, whatever, like that, and then do they become that after becoming a dad? Yeah, you could be into that, but this whole narration where all this,
I believe because there's a subconscious indirect connection to something else.
Okay.
Like, I think I like the dad bod because not a lot of women are attracted to him, and I've been screwed over by dudes that are hot because they know they could get any woman. So I feel like there's security in the dad bod.
For sure.
Not because of the physical, but because of the emotional security.
And I'll even say that too. Like, I've even heard that the dad bod thing was a thing because, like, you know, and that's how they say these super hot women, right? Were like, oh man, like, you know, I want a guy like that. Was because they're afraid of the fact that they get a guy equal to their standard, that guy could have 10 of her. Right, vice versa, right? She's the same kind of chick. She could get 10 of those guys.
And now we know in culture that we can.
Yeah, no, and that's basically life now. Everyone, I literally heard this the other day, and I gotta bring it up now because, and it's been a meme like that I've been recently seeing. I'm sure it's out there. They're like guys are legit going after chicks with boyfriends or in relationships because they're only dealing with a chick dealing with one other dude, compared to a single chick who's probably texting. Let's use the round number 10 guys. Right, that's not it, right? So your competition, if you're trying to get out of somebody who's in a happy relationship, well, you only got to deal with her talking to one guy, right?
When I log in on my wife's Messenger, she gets tons of messages from dudes, and we're married, and our kids are on our Facebook and everything, bro.
Yeah, I know people who have joint accounts with their husband, and they both get on constantly. Like, dudes will still message that account, knowing that the guy's on the account, and try to get at the chick. You know what I'm saying?
So you know what? Let's go a little bit. Let's go a little bit deeper here. Let's go a little bit deeper, bro, because this is interesting. We're in an hour. You don't gotta go, do you?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Let's go a little bit deeper. It's interesting because you're an agnostic, right? And
yeah.
And so fundamentally, your worldview, your perspective about let's say morality, right? Because now we're entering into the kind of the waters of morality, right? And we're looking for. I feel like we're looking for an objective point of reference that we can reference in order to, like, okay, what's an objective point of reference? How should a good, healthy relationship look? How do we get there? How do we create that? You know, and in my opinion, my good objective point of reference, obviously because of my belief system, right, is the Bible, Christianity, Jesus, God, the way that He says He lived. You know what I'm saying? But, I was speaking to my cousin about this the other day, bro, because it's so true, man. He has a friend, and, yeah, okay, I'll just say he got some friend. I don't know. But he has a friend who's older, right, but very good looking, bro.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you know the statistic, but suppose you have twice, and Jordan Peterson quotes this statistic, you have twice as many female ancestors as you do males, right?
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Because, I mean, if you look at the Bible, the farther back you go, like, the more wives people had.
Okay, fair enough, okay.
Right? And I don't know, Genghis Khan, for example, he supposedly populated, I don't know, 40% of the world or 50% of the world population is, has Genghis Khan genetics right now and stuff like
Ain't
that.
That some shit.
So the whole point, bro, is naturally, animalistically, the way that we're wired, bro, is that it's crazy because the top percentage of males, 60% of the women will be attracted to the top 10% of males, right? So the top percentage of males have pretty much any chick to choose from and stuff like that.
That's the choppy. They're not the choppy block. That's the hierarchy.
That's the hierarchy. So what my cousin was saying about this friend of his is because his friend was saying, he says, man, why get a girl? Why get married and stuff? What animal do you see, or mammal in the animal kingdom do you see as monogamous and stuff like that? What, we should be just spreading our seed or whatever, it's just innocence in our nature. And to that I agree, you know what I'm saying? But what I told him is that I don't believe we're created like every other animal. I believe we're divine. We have a divine nature. In my belief system, God created angels and human beings. It says we will make them in our image, and we're the only two beings that God created that actually have a will, a divine will and a choice. So we need to live for a more of a transcendent purpose. But our culture has pretty much it's basically, it's not like the majority, bro. Not even the majority, bro. Probably not even like 80% of society thinks like that, bro. It's like instant gratification, self-centered. Like the perspective is like self-centered. It's like, man, how can I get what I want in the quickest, most efficient way and stuff? And then you kind of adapt to the culture. If the culture becomes more sexualized, you become more sexualized. If the culture says that this is okay, well then, you know what I mean? If the culture's cool with it, and that goes to psychology of consensus.
Yeah.
If the culture's cool with it, then it must be cool.
Yeah.
Which is a very powerful force, bro, that psychology of consensus.
It really is.
Because a lot of girls never, let's say in the older days, never, man, my dad used to tell me all the time, Lucy and I Love Lucy, they wouldn't even sleep in the same bed.
Yeah.
Back in those
Yeah.
days, they wouldn't even show them sleeping in the same bed. So what I'm saying is, a lot of girls, even in our day, bro, they wouldn't go on a, like a OnlyFans or stuff like that. It was just so taboo. It was so frowned upon. It was so shameful. And now it's this thing like sexual liberation, you know, where you do that. So that's pretty much the culture that we're in now. So the question I wanted you to see your perspective on that is that what do you think a good relationship should look like? How do we get there? You know what I'm saying? What is your point of reference?
So, and this is we should literally end this and start a new podcast. It's gonna be a minute. I'm gonna try not to segue out of this.
Bro, Joe Rogan was for 3 hours. Sorry.
No, and I say like honestly, like for me, I'm gonna say my ideals, and that's because like the past 2 years I've opened up a lot. I've seen a lot of things that I knew kind of like they were out there, but like, you know, I didn't ever really experience anything, and I met people who do stuff, and I'm like, okay, great, that's crazy. Number one thing is definitely gotta be happiness, right? If you're getting something from life with a person, you gotta keep it happy, man. If not, you can see what's going on with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And the madness, they're both terrible. I love Johnny Depp was winning, but he's not innocent by any means. Okay, he definitely does his own thing, and I'm pretty sure he's tortured her as well. But like I said, she's just right now looking terrible, and you know, and honestly, she's a terrible actor. There you go. That's what's going on now in that case. So like I said, happiness has to be a thing. Like, and I recently said this too. Like, you know, my last relationship, the person I was with, we were like best friends, hanging out all the time, calling each other. Hey, like literally every other day, or almost every day sometimes too. We're like, hey, do you want to just come by for a little bit? I made something to eat, or hey, whatever. Like, kind of just go over. Like, you want to watch a movie, or you want to do something, or like you want to just hang out for a little bit, and like it was like badass because like I think it's crazy, and like it goes on a little bit of codependency, right? And I tell people think that's a bad thing. I think if it becomes not symbiotic, what is the term to it? Is it symbiotic? Probably. Like if both people are benefiting from it. Right?
Mutual?
Yeah, like a mutual thing, right? Like if like, you know, you're both happy with spending, like that's usually why, I mean, you would want to marry somebody, right? And that person makes you happy, you make them happy. Hey, let's never leave each other. Let's put a contract on this thing that is done. And I just that's my form of marriage. But no, I'm just saying, like, you know, like you go to do something like this, right? Okay, you gotta accept the person from it, like you fall in love with this person, right? And you supposedly learn most of what they are, their life experiences, they've seen something. Nobody's perfect, everyone's got a past, right? As far as other partners they've been with, things they've done in life, you know, if you've, if they've, gone to jail, if they have a bad family, you know.
When you move away from that.
I gotcha. You know, if they, you know, there's several things that play into a person, their character, how they were brought up. You gotta accept some things. You gotta say, okay, this is the person. Like, you know, I met them at this point. They've always been good to me. Whatever. Move forward, right? Because yeah, I know. Like the more I found out about certain partners too. Like I was like, oh man, like, you know, you did that. Like that's weird. Like why would you ever do that? But they were at a time and place. You know, I would told them about some things in my life that I did. They're like, oh, okay, crazy. Like that sucks, but you know, like you lived. You're okay. You moved past it, right? Things that have been embarrassing, whatever. So we get to the part, happiness is the first thing, right? Okay, then being able to...
happiness is something that you're pursuing that you would ideally want to have in a relationship.
Yes, exactly.
The way you pursue that is that when you're with this, I'm just trying to interpret right, making sure I got it right of what you're saying. The way that you get to there is you make sure that your partner, that you can communicate good, you like spending time with them and things, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So what are like some actual like words or tenets that you look for in a significant other that will kind of to give you the idea like, okay man, I think we can be happy. I'm kind of getting like you have mutual like, because if you can spend time together and watch movies, that means you gotta like humor.
For sure.
Laugh at similar
Yeah.
things, good communication, or what?
Yeah, no, and those are all things too, right? Like all of these, like, and it's so funny because I hear so many people always say, "Oh, I'm marrying my best friend," right? Well, what do you do with your best friend? You can do anything with them. You can talk to them. You can do communication. You know, I'm trying to elaborate more on it. I'm struggling with words, but you know, like you gotta know that you know the person. You gotta be comfortable with the person. You gotta do all these things, and then they gotta give it back, right? That's important. They gotta really give it back. Because if not, then you feel, I'm sure everybody's experienced this at least once or twice in life. If you haven't, great for you. But like you've been in a place where you've given somebody a lot of things and they don't give much back.
Yeah.
And then, but you're like, oh, I still like the person, I like the idea. You fall into an idea of a person.
Yeah.
And you know, then after a while they leave, right? And like, crap, well, I gave that person everything, right? And it's a really beautiful thing when you find somebody who's willing to give everything that you're giving them right back to you, right? That's something I think is very important in that, like something that cannot be lost. Being able, and I'm just going to speak on generalities, you know, like being able to sacrifice for one another, thinking like, okay, like, oh, you know, well, she wants to go back to school, like, you know, let's talk that we're already in this relationship, right? And you know, like, well, you know, she, you know, like, well, what's a better relationship? Okay, well, we're making more money, we're bringing in more income. That's always good, right? Well, you know, she wants to go back to school full time. Maybe I'll be a truck driver. Maybe I'll go work in the oil field. Let me support this, right? You know, as long as it's doing it. So being able to sacrifice for each other, or you know, at our age, one point they get, okay, now I'm gonna go back to school. You know, whatever. I'm gonna put myself, get a degree, get a good job. So now we'll both, you know, in the next 8 to 10 years, we'll both have good jobs, and our kids will have more money, and we'll be happier, better house ever, right? Like so. Grand scheme of things, you gotta really find, in my opinion, you gotta find somebody who you like and that likes you back. You know, enough to where like you can do, like, you know, spend every day with them if you can or whatever. Because yeah, when you get married, what do? You move into a house together, you sleep in the same bed, you know, you experience life with them. That is your choice. That is to me, that is what marriage is. And if you do that with somebody that you're not that into, like why? Like that's one thing I've always said. Like, why would you marry somebody you're not into? If you're thinking like, okay, I know most people too. Like, my parents were very religious, so when they got married, they that was for life for them, right? And you know they're going on, they're coming to this point. They're over 30 years into marriage, probably getting close to 40 at this point. You know, and it's just the point where like, man, I've seen the trials, the tribulations, the things that they've gone through. Where like, you know, that the fact that the religious beliefs, they're like, no, we believe in marriage. We got married. Like, yes, things are very different now. We weren't kids. We're not kids anymore. We've gone through life, and you know, but they stand by each other, and you know, because of what they believe in, right? And you know, like everyone can say like, oh, they're already, but like, you know, you grow, you get different. Things change you, right? And you have to really remember that that's the person I committed to, and like, hopefully they give it back to you, right? That's always one thing, because like, why did the divorce happen right now? Somebody decides they don't want to be a part of it anymore. Somebody, like, that's why, you know, I think relationships are hard. I think that's why marriage is super, I don't think it's at a super low rate, but I think it's at a low success rate now. Because yeah, no, like, if I decide, okay, I have this partner, she's got a great job and all that stuff, but she's a real jerk all the time, but you know, she likes me enough that she'll hang out with me. We'll be physical at times, whatever. Like, oh, okay, I can live with that, whatever. And she's gonna put me in a higher status with income and all that stuff. But in the end, well, if she decides, oh, I don't like this guy anymore, I want the next guy who just like him but looks better, divorce my ass, take half my stuff and go off. Like, you know, I don't think anybody ever wants to like live in that kind of life where you're fearing that, oh, is my partner gonna leave me? Like, no, who did I marry? That can happen.
I mean, ultimately, how do you know that that's not gonna happen?
I guess you don't know, man, because you know, I'll tell you what, my most recent girlfriend was, which I felt the closest I ever thought of, like, okay, that's somebody I could marry. She's divorced, you know, and like thinking like, okay, well, if somebody divorced her or she divorced somebody, like clearly, like, you know, it's got to be 50-50. Hold on, and other times, I guess the bend. Sometimes it's gonna be 70-30, otherwise back, you know, 60-40 other way backward. It's just a sacrifice you're willing. You gotta have the same goal with that person. If you want to raise a family, you gotta do these things. Like, it's tough to find. I really think it is tough to find these days, right? If you got it, hang on to it. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully nothing ever shifts in the balance of a good marriage. Because honestly, the way I see it is that, like, yeah, nowadays you see all these things. They're so, like I said, I was talking to you about a friend who was sending these TikTok videos to somebody else. And I'm like 99% sure he's gonna marry his girlfriend. Like, they have a beautiful relationship. They're very in love with each other, right? But the dummy sent this video to her on accident, you know, and now she's upset about it. And she got mad at him. And, you know, I'm thinking, like, crap, like, that could ruin the whole marriage. That could ruin the whole relationship. Now, you know, how is she gonna look at him now? Like, you know, it was like, you know, and most of the time thinking, like, okay, I'll get past that. But in her head, she's gonna think like, oh, like that's what he really wants. Like physically, like am I not physically? You know, these things are breaking down, little things like that. And then like, let's be honest, we're all human beings. We all look, and we see something good walking down the street. We try to morally not look, but you notice it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be a dog about it and a fucking drool about it, all that stuff. But let's be honest, women do the same shit. You know, women, they'll look and maybe be a little more, let's say, be a little more classy about it. They'll talk about it, you know, just like dudes do. We're a little more, we're a little more stupid about it, but you know.
I think it's similar for girls and guys, but I think it's a little bit different, and I think the way in which it's different is actually very significant. Because I think women look for security.
For sure.
Now, different women look through different lenses of security. For example, a woman might see a guy that's rich and they'll think, I mean, obviously the more levels of security you have, the better.
Yeah.
But if he's rich, they're like, I know he can take care of me. If he's muscular, I know he can protect me, right? If he's popular,
which isn't always true, by the way. He's got to learn to fight. He can't just lift weights and protect. Just saying.
yeah, girls, you know.
Get what the martial art is. Dump the dude at the gym. I'm telling you right now.
Take him to an MMA gym, yeah. But I think that's what girls look for is security, whereas guys, I think it's just like which girl can like best, you know, pass on genetics and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, and at that level too, right? That's the thing. We're hardwired to make more people. That is what we're supposed to. That's an urge. That's something that, and yeah, if you get with somebody that you love, that they love you back, and you're in there, like I said, I think it's rare, but I see. I have friends who have found their name. I don't know their personal lives to an extent, right? But like they look happy. They're beautiful couples. They have great looking kids. They have nice cars, nice house. For all I know, though, at home they hate each other. You know, like we don't know what happens behind closed doors, right? We don't know these things, but like to the outside world, it looks like they have the perfect life. Most people, like you see that, you know, the big house, the white picket fence, that whole narrative, like that's what everybody wanted, a 2-car garage, all that stuff. You know, but like you said, it's just finding. I think you just either you get lucky and you connect with somebody and you can build with that person. You know, and they check all not even check all your boxes, but like they fulfill you in life. They really do get there. I mean, the person I was with recently didn't. I mean, like I just thought I found a good person. I had a great connection with them, and like now I think that's more of a thing that I look for too. That and it's been something where I've been kind of struggling with actually being single for like I'm being like 5-6 months now. And like talking to other people and like trying to find that again. I guess it's one of those things where it's gotta just hit you in the face. Like, and it's so funny because any relationship I've ever had, I've never gone out and be like, oh, that girl's cute, let me talk to her, whatever. Boom, that's my new girlfriend. Whatever. It's never happened. Every relationship I've ever had in life, somebody surprised me. Like, oh shit, like I ran into, oh hi, whatever. Like, you know, none of these places were ever intended. Like it just happened. Now with the whole dating app thing now and all this stuff going on today, like yeah, you see a bunch of things out there and like, you know, and like you said, the whole thing, the top 10%, it's the same thing both ways. The top 10% of men definitely get all the swipe, all the right swipe, like yes, I want to match with that guy. Yeah. They get all those. And then you get like some guys too that are a little bit like, you know, the lower tiers where, you know, oh, this is all that, so yeah, okay, maybe I'll get 1 or 2 here and there, left and right. And like you say too, but like you said, the guys at the top, they're the ones. You know, they're the ones, I'm with this girl this way, girl, let's just use a different girl every night, or every weekend. You know, I got this girl for a little while, but I don't like her anymore. That's how it is, right? Because those guys are there, they can do it, right? It's not even a point to like where they want to give it up, they just like, it's kind of like a sport at that point. Like I can do it because I want to, right? And like, you know, and it's not anybody's fault other than the fact that that's what this day of dating has done to us, right? Like, and like, you know, it's sexualized because on these apps, and I'm on them too. I've experienced this. You know, you're looking at pictures. You get a little bio. Like I'll be honest, there's times where I'm just looking at pictures. I'm just looking at pictures left and right, and I'm going back and forth. Like I'm not even reading what this person's saying. Or like that. A lot of times people don't even put anything, right? So like every now and then I'll get one where I read. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Let me see if it matches. Okay, whatever. Maybe it does, right? And then I kind of go about it and you see what's out there. But 99%, I literally want to say it's 99%. Like, yes, no, get all appearance based. All appearance based, right? So when you go by appearance based, you're not really giving anybody a chance, right? Because like, just like me, I have my types that I like, right? So if you're not my type, of course what I do, left, like that left is no, right? And so if you're doing that, like, well, how are you ever gonna find a connection with this random person, like, with all that? Because now it is all like, okay, what are you doing? And like I said, if you're not in the gym, if you're not doing these things, like you're not an attractive person nowadays, right? Like you might have money and all that stuff. But like on nowadays, how people are dating, like it's so funny because I used to watch shows all that where guys like, okay, we're going out to the club tonight, we're gonna meet some people, make new friends, probably get into like take somebody home tonight, whatever like that. We're gonna do all that. I don't even see that really anymore today. I think it's all this. It's all this. We're like, okay, let me see what I want to do this here. Like you don't even go to the place anymore to see what's there or whatever. Like let me see what happens with people. You're just trying to select through all appearance, which is sexualization, and and that's how I think why these things don't really work out, because we're choosing to meet people only by looks. And if you get lucky and you meet someone that's amazing, like it happened to me. Like I said, I didn't expect what I got out of the person that I matched with, and I had a more or less 2-year relationship out of it, and it was good and it was bad, and it was fun, and it is what it is. I got to know somebody, I took a chance, and that's because of funny. And I only bring it up because of her, because most of the time when I see a girl, and I'm gonna get hate on this, but when I see a girl and it's only a face pic, more likely I swipe left. Because they're not showing anything else. I'm thinking, okay, immediately they're not in shape. They're not doing what I do, even though I'm not in shape, right? But that's more to my liking. Like I like somebody who's a little more active, whatever. But the point is to that is I took a chance. And like, was she a perfect body? No. Like she was beautiful in her ways, and she had things that made her appealing. But what I'm getting at is that I took a chance, and okay, I got to know somebody, and it was great. Like wish it would have never ended, right? But it did, so it is what it is. But I met somebody good by taking a chance. And nobody really does that anymore. Now it's like, okay, I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this.
Bro, you know what? I wanna give you my perspective, right, and my opinion on all this stuff, man. And I'm gonna start off with something that's kind of not related, but it is related. It's relevant. And so what that is that my cousin Mike, he's actually writing this book called What Would Darwin Do?
Okay.
And the book is basically what would Darwin do based on all the scientific information that we have now concerning particularly genetics, but like epigenes and stuff like that, right? Because Darwin basically, you could say he's the father of evolution based on the research that he did with Darwin's finches and stuff like that, right? But now, being that we're able to map the genetic code, there's so much, it seems to be pointing so much to the information that our DNA is is intelligently designed. And there's actually a scientific term called irreversible complexity, right? And so I'll give you a little thing, right, real quick to give you an example of that. The cell, right? The building blocks of life. They're actually called organelles within the cell. So organelles are like mitochondria, the nucleus, so on, all that stuff. And basically, you need all of them to be created at the same time for the cell to function. One without the other, the cell's not gonna function. It's gonna like a baby born without lungs.
Yeah.
Like it ain't a baby born without heart. It ain't. You need everything.
Yeah.
You need everything. You need all the organelles together to work, right? So they've even done studies where, like, they're talking about where did life come from. You can have cells. You can put them in a test tube, perfect conditions, puncture the cell, so all the stuff in the cell comes out, and you still can't get life from that. So basically, it's pointing toward intelligent design. My whole point of that is that there's this one scientist who he poses this question. I think it was Nikola Tesla. He says, I think and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know exactly how he quoted it, but he said something to the effect of, I think we're doing science a great disservice in not considering the supernatural aspect of science, the things behind the forces. And there seems to be this supernatural force, bro. Like, I'm telling you, my cousin is about to write this book, and I'm pretty intimately involved in the whole process because I'm helping him write the book. So we're discussing the information that he's finding, and it's amazing, bro. Like, for example, in DNA, there's something called mRNA. The M starts for messenger RNA, bro. And if you see, like, in a video, the way it actually works, bro, that messenger RNA will go to like a DNA strand or whatever, and it'll duplicate it, and then a piece of it will come off, and then the messenger RNA will like grab it, and then it actually looks like it's like walking in this particular direction, and it takes it to like this other area. I'm not a scientist, I'm going to do, but it takes it to this other area, and it duplicates that information in order to create new proteins or map for new proteins or whatever that your body needs or whatever.
Okay.
The question is, that I'm thinking, is who tells that little messenger RNA when to get it, when to take it, what direction to go in, and all that stuff. It seems to be that there's this supernatural force at work. That's just considering that actually happening. The greater question is, how did this information happen? Because the DNA code is complex beyond complex, bro. I mean, it's that whole concept of like, you have a book, and it's like the book is made up of letters, and letters frame words, and words frame concepts and paragraph and chapters, and then your whole book, and it's all coherent, and it's all intellectually makes sense. You're not gonna see like Nick, dog, ape, tree, raccoon. Like
Yeah.
you don't read a book like that.
Yeah.
It makes logic, bro. That's the way the DNA, the genetics code is. Except even more complex on that
Okay.
because it's mapped on map. It's like a crossword puzzle. So, anyways, my whole point of that is that the scientist says we may be neglecting something and not considering the supernatural forces. So this is boom. Now moving on to the relationship.
Yeah.
I think people and human beings are doing themselves a great disservice in not considering the supernatural aspect of humanity, of your being, of your individual person, and then also in the context of the greater society, framework, relationships, etc. And what I think, in my perspective, is, bro, there's two opposing forces in relationships.
That's true.
And I think one thing that where what happens is that people are trying to have both of them together, but they're just naturally, bro, they're opposed to one another.
Okay.
And I think one of those forces, which I mentioned earlier, is the natural force, the instinctual force.
Yeah.
Both for men and for women. Women want security, they want emotional security, they want this and that and that and this. Guys, they want basically the best chick that they're gonna produce with and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's another interesting thing, bro. Getting back to the Bible, and I'm not mentioning it for the purpose of like just opposing my belief system, but I think it's highly interesting. In the original, in the original Hebrew text for a man and a woman, okay. How does it go? Okay. There's one uncommon letter in that word. So there's a Hebrew word for man, and there's a Hebrew word for a woman, right? And those words, and I might get this up a little bit. My cousin could come in here because we read a book on it, and he could pretty much clarify. But this is basically the gist of it. There's two Hebrew words. There's one uncommon Hebrew letter in that word, right? So like when you take out that uncommon word and then you put it together like with something, I forgot what it was, it forms the word God or whatever. Forms the word God. And what's crazy in this book, because the book was talking about the original Hebrew language. I don't know if you know about the original Hebrew language, bro, but it's a code in itself.
Okay.
Because the ancient Hebrew, each letter had a picture for it. So like there'd be a letter and it's like, okay, that's A, but it also means ox, for example.
Okay.
Or that's B, but it also means the goat or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So that uncommon Hebrew letter, you put it together, it forms God, right? So what the gist of it was saying was that when you take God, when you take that letter out of the a man and the woman letter, when you take that letter out, which is the God letter, and you put those words together, it makes the word consuming fire, which is crazy. And so my cousin told me, he goes, I was like, okay, like what are you getting? He's like, bro, it's crazy. When you take God out of the relationship between a man and a woman, all you get is a consuming fire. And my whole point is that just looking, just observing on relationships nowadays, bro, I see it all the time. My wife gets messages from girls. They come in, bro. I've had them sit at our table and they're asking us like a relationship advice and stuff like that. And I'm thinking about it like, dude, my wife is very, in my opinion, right, she's very attractive, you know, let's say top percentile. I don't think I'm the ugliest dude in the world, right? So each of us could pretty much go our own separate way. But in my opinion, bro, the thing that keeps us grounded is God, bro. That conviction, man. That love for God. And that's the thing that, okay, so now getting right to my opinion on relationship stuff, that's how I picked my significant other, bro. Like, I remember when I was dating, there was a lot of girls that I wanted to date and I wanted to pursue, man.
Yeah.
And I cut them off because you know, I mean, it sounds kind of shallow and stuff like that, but I cut them off because it wasn't Christian. And it's not just because they're not Christian, bro. It's the belief system and the heart system and the worldview and the perspective that you have towards relationship because you're. And now, I'm going to say a little disclaimer. Not everybody that claims they're a Christian behaves like a Christian. Matter of fact, I think the majority of people who claim they're a Christian is not a Christian. And I've had this conversation with somebody who I had in here who were locked up together, man. And I remember when I became a Christian, because I resurrendered my life to the Lord when I was actually in prison, bro. Okay. And I was gang affiliated at that time. I don't know if I've told you that story. Yeah. So they weren't too happy about that, right? Oh. And they actually voted on whether they should like smash me out or not when I did that. But I remember what I told the one who had the word, you know, because he asked me, man, I don't get it, you know what? Y'all, he was, so the way it happened was, I went to chow and he sat down on the table and he says, man, one thing I don't understand about Christians is that y'all say y'all this and that, but this is what I actually said, but y'all the same ones that are jacking off with the law because in prison, that's what they masturbate on the female guards and stuff. Y'all are gambling, y'all are doing this and this, and I told him, I said, look, not everybody that says they're Christian is a Christian. Just like not everybody who says they're a gangster, that they're hard, or they're whoop your ass is gonna whoop your ass. Right?
Yeah.
You know, people do a lot of talk. I mean, I think that's just generally the way human beings work.
Yeah.
So that's just a disclaimer about Christianity. What I'm saying is what I'm looking for somebody who abides and adheres to the principles and the teachings, and not just the principles and teachings, but beyond that, actually believes in God and loves Him more than anything in the world, even more than me, even more than our potential kids.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because knowing humanity, bro, I'm flawed. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I may change. Matter of fact, I may die.
For sure.
You know, and if you don't have that foundation of that love for Him, you may get in a relationship with somebody else that you remarry, and they're gonna now be the father of my kid. So I'm looking for those things. And look at what the Bible says about love. You know what I'm saying? It says, love is kind, love is patient, love is not self-wanting, it's not self-seeking, it is not puffed up, it is not envious, it is not jealous. Those are all the descriptions that the Bible gives of love. You know what I'm saying? And then what are the fruits of the Spirit? Joy, peace, kindness, goodness, self-control, patience, long-suffering. All of these characteristics of somebody who is right, spirit-filled with the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
And then also these principles that says this is how love should look. And I remember this one gentleman talking about how he was advising his daughter on how to look for a significant other. And that verse that I just mentioned to you, that I quoted, that love is kind, love is patient, love is not self-seeking. He says, who is it that you like, right? He was talking to his teenage daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Derek or whatever. Derek. He says, you know what? Whoever you choose, put their name there, right? So Derek is not puffed up. Derek is not jealous. He is not self-seeking. Derek is not prideful. You know, Derek is all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And he'll put that. If that explains him, then he's a good candidate. If
Yeah.
any one of those excludes him, then he's not a good candidate.
For sure.
And my whole point is like, it's not a perfect thing, right? Because people are subject to change at any time or whatever. But I think it's a very good fundamental point of reference to go off of on to choose your significant other.
For sure.
And I think if you go off of those things, man, your relationship will be a lot more solid than if you don't. And I think that is something that can be tried, tested, and proven over time. And Jordan Peterson has spoken about this as it pertains to religion too. Like, you know, a lot of people, they scoff at religion and stuff like that. Religions, right, regardless of which one, there's something that created by whatever culture, because there's tenets and principles of them that when applied to a certain group of people seem to hold true regardless of and anybody who, right, that's the thing about religion, that's kind of like the implied, some imply it directly, some indirectly or whatever, but that's the implication of religion, that if you apply these principles to your life is going to turn out better, and it doesn't matter what type of person you are, you apply these things, your life is going to be better, right? That's one of the implications. And so, yeah, man, that's how I view that. And now, you know, the culture we're in, bro, I mean, it's like, it's true what you say. I mean, look at Bible time. Again, we could go back even 50 years ago and stuff, but look at Bible times, the things that, or even in the ancient days or whatever, the things that people had to go through to cheat on their wife, bro.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible talks about how there was harlots, and there's like these certain areas of town where you go to, and they're wearing certain kinds of garb and dress apparel so that somebody will know, like, okay, that girl's available, the way she braids her hair, the way she... There are certain things that you have to go through, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was actually a task, bro.
Yeah.
To cheat on your significant other. There was actually some work and some premeditation and planning and strategy that had to go into it. And bro, now it's so easy, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now it's so easy. So now the importance of having this objective point of reference, I think is even amplified so much more, man. And I think the reason that these, you know, girls and guys are in these situations now, bro, is because they're not considering that there's these two opposing forces, and they're being guided by the natural animalistic force in their life. That's predominantly what is guiding them. So they go into a relationship and they're like, they want the divine aspects of a relationship. I want security, I want emotional support, I want this guy to love me, and I want to be the only one. Okay, but that's a divine aspect.
Yes.
The natural animalistic aspect of this guy is that whenever you freaking get in a car crash and you're handicapped, whenever you become an inconvenience, whenever you become annoying, I'm going to move on. And it's the same way for the girl and for the guy, bro. Yeah. That's the animalistic nature. That's not the divine nature, you know what I'm saying? So you want certain tenets of the divine, but you're pursuing it, you know what I'm saying?
And I definitely do, because in a way you kind of really, through the religious aspects of it, you kind of, I guess that's what I've been trying to say too, because, you know, like, the whole point is like, you know, and that's one thing I will accredit to I would say a marriage through religion is like I said, bring up my parents. You know, their life hasn't been great. They both had to work hard. They both have gotten to points where like, oh, like we don't know if we're gonna keep doing this, and they stay together because, you know, like I said, when you have a belief system like that, like, you know, you believe in the actual marriage. The word marriage is not just a contract. Like I said, I joked about it earlier. You know, you believe that, hey, like we're together, we decided to do this, and like we are family now, and like, you know, and yeah, like nowadays that's not really a thing. People are getting divorced within like 6 months of getting married. You know, not really knowing what they're getting into, and you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, and I feel like when you get into that, and I don't know. And I guess it can be like, I guess, a wishy-washy thing. So we're like, you know, like, because I feel like you can find somebody who has a lot of those same values and all that stuff, and like wants the same things and is willing to keep working at things. Like, in other words, if something happens, boom, like I'll even say, oh, I saw you looking at another girl. Like, the girl gets mad at you for thinking that, oh, your eventually gonna cheat on me. But the thing is to fix the problem. You know, like, okay, no, like, how do we fix this? Like, the whole thing is now is like, okay, it's broken. Like, fuck this, I'm out. Right? And so, like, how do we fix this? Like, we made a commitment to each other. You know, like, you know, if you actually went and got married, let's say you even get married, let's say you go through a courtroom, let's say it's not even that. You decided to contract yourself to another person, right? Like, it's a commitment, right? It's supposed to be a commitment for life, right? But nowadays it's so easy to get divorced. Like, what if you couldn't get divorced? What if that was the way like you got married to somebody else? That's it. You're done, right? Probably be a way less marriage.
Yeah.
Probably be way less marriage, right? But the whole thing is, like, I think people don't take it seriously enough. People go to Vegas and get drunk and get married in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? That happens a lot, right? Maybe not now because of COVID, but like that's what I think. And annulments on Monday, or like probably a thing where like the annulment office probably makes a ton of money off that shit. You know, because of, like, you know, you had a dumb stupid weekend, you did things when you were drunk, high, whatever, and oh crap, now I'm married, and how am I gonna tell this to my girlfriend that I just did this, or you know, whatever. What I'm getting at is that, yeah, no, like, it's super easy to get married now. It's super easy, like, to and like, you know, then they let kids do it, right? They let kids that are 18, 19 years old thinking that, oh, I'm gonna go out to the marriage, I love him, whatever like that. People who haven't even really experienced life yet, or have the ability to get married. I have so many friends that we graduated high school, we're getting into college, their dudes went off to the military, right before they went off to the military, they got married, whatever. Now, most of them are divorced or already in their second marriage. Now, most.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, several things, people change, all that, but I do believe in that belief system in the religion is why so many marriages do make it, because like I said, you believe things. Like you said, yes, do we have animalistic urges? Do we have things like that? Like you said, you brought that point about Genghis Khan, you know, how he had so much DNA out there. That is the thing. We were naturally an animal, we've evolved. We are at the level to where now we can know, okay, we know right from wrong. It's not a thing like that. We know that doing things to people who don't want them is a bad thing, and you should go to jail for those things, right? Like, we know all this right now. We know, you know, we know how to be better human beings now, right? You know, the whole point that I guess I'm getting at is because, yeah, no, the part that I wanted to bring up is like, yeah, no, because I know there's open relationships out there. There's that word polyamorous relationships that are out there where people are happy with each other, they're doing life, and they're having side relationships, or they're having side people on the side doing things, and they're happy, right? What's that part is honestly mind-boggling to me. Like, I've always thought that, like, okay, I'm gonna have one person, I'll share that. I never like the idea of sharing a person, like, that's mine. Like, why would I want anybody else to touch that? Like, you know, and then if she wants to touch that, why is she with me? You know, like, that's always been a percentage of mine. So like, when I met people that were into that, I'm like, dude, y'all are nuts. Like, how do y'all not like kill each other over this? And they were just, I guess, like, I met a married woman that was in a polyamorous marriage. That means, in other words, they have side relationships. This girl had told me that she was in a relationship with the guy's best friend, and like they were like together, like, you know, like they would, the three of them would hang out. The guy too would have other relationships, but like his was more like, I just want to get in and out, like I want to meet somebody, do what I want with them, okay, they're done, whatever, and I'm back to my marriage, right? And but no, like this lady was into the fact that she had two boyfriends, and the husband was cool with it. They would hang out. The husband and the dude would go work out and shit, and then come back in the house. She would make dinner for both of them. Like, it was like they were. I believe, like, I hear the word that got thrown around as a throuple, if you will, which that's mind-boggling to me too. You know, like that's a thing where, yeah, like it's one of those things that, like, to me, I feel like those things don't work because obviously jealousy is one thing. If you're giving that person more things, you're spending more time with that person than me, are you eventually gonna leave me for that one person and just do y'all's own thing? Like, that's one thing I was like, when I see these people that are so kind, apparently it's everywhere. Like, you just if you don't know about it, you see it, but you don't know it.
Well, like, are they really happy? And look, even if they are happy,
yeah.
Let me just say, right, I think there's a distinction, and there's a difference between happy and having joy, right?
Okay.
And so I think the difference is that happy, and I like what one person said, happy, so just happens. It's
For
dependent.
sure.
It's dependent on circumstance. The circumstance is external. It comes from the outside, right? So they're happy when they can get that significant other. Basically, they can get that hit of drug from that other relationship they're doing, right?
Yeah.
When you remove that from the equation, there's no longer happiness or there's no longer joy. Now, joy is different because it's internal. It's something that comes from within.
Okay.
And regardless of what external variable you remove from the equation, it still remains, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm looking for is joy in a relationship. And I can be mad, sad, discontent, annoyed, or whatever, but I can still be joyous about the relationship. And so I think that's different because from what I've seen to like observe from these relationships, I mean, I haven't seen it, right? But I mean, I think a real popular one is the whole Jada and Will thing, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Right? I mean, they kind of, they want to position themselves and put on, for lack of a better word, this front that it's a successful relationship and it's working out, but it seems not to be.
For sure. From what we've seen so far, like yeah, no, and it seems that, and this is the part I'll bring up in that, and what a lot of them talked about that couple in particular, that Jada was the one that wanted it to be open, but Will didn't. So my thing is, I don't know, was that the man? And like, I shouldn't even be quoting this because that's just what I've heard is the way it is. But did she was like, okay, I'm gonna do this whether you like it or not. You can divorce me if you want, whatever, right? And they came back. He accepted it and came back, right? You're right. Is he happy? Whatever like that. They're already so many 4 years into the relationship. Like, I guess that was one thing I was gonna come up to. A part of that too is like, you know, you can only be so happy, and we do have urges, right? I guess that's one of the things you should know. Like, okay, if you're in a married relationship, you know that it would hurt your partner to do other things or that. But what if you were in a relationship, right, where both of you guys were okay with it? Like, oh, like, you know, we're both attractive people still. There's still other things out there, right? And I get it. And like I said, I personally, on the nose, like, that's something I don't feel like I'd ever need. You know, if I'm happy with one person, why would I want to bring other people in the aspect? It sounds like trouble to me, right? It sounds like drama to me, to be honest, right? And, you know, and like, and he said, like, you know, when I met that person, she said, yeah, like, there was a point where she even was with the dude for so many years. But the guy finally broke down and said, you know, like, I can't do this with you anymore because, like, I do love you, but you're married to somebody already. Like, where's my happiness? No, this is the outside party. Telling her, and she was like offended, or not offended, but upset because she's like, well, you knew what this was, and you know, we've already been doing this for years. She was like, this woman even went so far to even meet the guy's family. They don't know that she has a husband and all that, right? That stuff's private. All that they say that most of these relationships are very to themselves. Okay, like the Will and Jada thing, that came out because they decided to put it out there. And honestly, I would say that even if you, and that's the crazy aspect I think about the whole Will and Jada thing, is because I don't think Will ever wanted it out there. You know, if you were happy with your partner, but your partner wants to do other things, right? You choose, okay, like I'm gonna accept my partner for that. But in my life, I think he was embarrassed. My wife likes to fuck with the dudes, you know, and like, you know, I love my wife and I want her to be happy, but like, is it worth breaking up the whole family because she wants to do this on the side? Like, you know, and that's the thing too, like, you know, if that person, like, you know, it is the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, like, man, it's like being more like, okay, well, if she's not happy, is he wrong? You know, or if he tells her, like, no, you can't do those things. And let's be honest, he's Will Smith. If you said that since he's married Jada, he's never been or touched another woman, I would say that's a lie.
Yeah.
Right? They're these top 10% of people, right, that we've talked about. We brought this up earlier, right? They can have whoever they want. Just because of their status in life or whatever like that. They can do whatever they want. So I don't think anybody in this particular one is completely, like, not at fault, right? Or not who's wrong, who's right, whatever. There's that. Yeah, I believe you get into a situation, right? And like I said, overall, I believe if you're willing to, like, you know, if you want your family, and like I think a lot of us make that sacrifice, right? And maybe we're not exactly happy. Like I said, you want to see a joy, but if you make that one sacrifice, you let your partner, or maybe it's even you, and your wife is doing it for you, right? You say, hey, well, I tell her, like, look, I love you, but like, you know, I'm a man. I want to touch other people. I want to do that stuff. And if you don't like it, like, you know, like, I don't know what to tell you because like we're married now. And you know, I know that's a really jerk way to talk about it, but like, I feel like that's somehow, or like when you get with somebody, be like, oh, and I heard, it's so funny because I heard a chick once tell me that, oh, well, I got with this guy, and he said he's polyamorous, right? He wasn't in a relationship, but he has this. But he used that word to cheat on her, like go sleep around with other people, but tell her, like, hey, like, I told you in the beginning, this is the way I was. But he wasn't telling her that, oh, I'm out doing things with other people. He just told her, oh, I'm this, right? So this guy used that term in a way where, like, oh, like, you know, like, you can't be mad at me. I told you how I am. Whatever. So, like, I'm sleeping with other people. You knew this about me, right? Which I believe that's wrong, right? You shouldn't do it like that. Like, but it's every couple different, right? Every if it works for you and you're happy about it, or you're willing to make that sacrifice for the greater good of your family or whatever it is, right? Like, that's your business, right? And I feel like that was the situation between Will and Jada, but of course it came out, and now he looks like an idiot, right? Now he went on stage, you know, after he slapped Chris Rock, and, you know, all these things coming out with, and it's like, dude, like, no matter what, you know, and like I said, now Jada looks like a terrible fucking person, you know, overall, and, you know, the whole point is that is their business. That is their family. Will could get out of this relationship if he wants. He can. You telling me he can't get some? He can't get. You're telling me he can't go get some bad bitch right now that looks 10 times better than her, younger than her, you know all that stuff. You telling me he can't do that? No, he definitely could do that. But does maybe he want his family? Does he want to keep that together? Does he not? I mean, he's making the sacrifice, right? He's still with her after all that stuff came out. The man was literally breaking down, crying on her stupid TV show. You know, you saw his look, how hurt he is over it.
Yeah.
And she's there talking like, you know, like, oh, it's whatever. Like, this is the way it is. You know, and you're in it. Now, like I said, I think that's too. It comes to the part where what kind of person you are. What do you really want in life? Are you okay? Are you settling, right? And maybe that's a form. Like, you know, like maybe he's not happy, but I'm already here, gone as long with her. You know, like this is my person. I accept it, right? Maybe that's where some happiness goes away, right? But you know, it's like the thing. What are you really like? You know, if you're married and this stuff comes up, because like not every marriage is perfect. People have cheated and come back, and you know, marriages have survived outside parties, right? And then, you know, it didn't maybe never be the same again. But you know, like some stuff happens, and you know, move forward. And I think it's just like that too. Like, you know, you're lucky if you never experience these things, right? Luckily if you never experience heartbreak, or the person you love, you find out they're sleeping with other people or whatever like that. Because a lot of people, like that physical part, a lot of people put a lot of love into that part, right? Like it's a part of your mind and your body, and oh my God, if she's giving it to somebody else, oh, she loves that other person, or I'm not good enough anymore for that person. So it's a mental break on your own part. But then I see these people, right, that are polyamorous, or they're open relationship where that stuff doesn't affect them on a level, right? And not everybody's like that, right? I mean, like I don't think I could do that. I think I'd be a jealous person. First of all, if I see my girl wants to go do the other dudes, I'm like, well, what are these dudes giving you that I'm not giving you? No, that's the aspect I would definitely have. You know, like, okay, like why do you need that? I don't need that.
You feel like less of a man.
Yeah, no shit, right? And then, or like I said, and then I met this other polyamorous couple, which I really wish I would have met the man.
Bro, where are you meeting these people?
Oh God, the internet. But I'm just telling you, man, like this is one thing where I'm like, dude, like, how are you okay with your wife having a whole other relationship where she goes on certain days to go see these guys, or this guy? It wasn't guys, it was this guy. At least from what she told me. And I was like, how are you okay with that? Like, you go home, you go, like, it's amazing because they're a super functional family. Like, they really are. Like, they have two, or like they had kids outside their marriage. The kids are already older, like moving on, right? But like, the guy makes money. Like, he's got like a side hustle with woodworking stuff, and he's some kind of like lawyer. I don't know what he's got money. She's also like she's something else too, where she makes a lot of money. And like, you know, so they could totally, like, they could just say, hey, no, let's not do this anymore, let's explore always, but they choose to stay together and do the stuff, right? And it's mind-boggling because she even told me, like, let's call, I don't even want to put a name on it, but let's say the guy, she goes, yeah, she goes, every now and then he does it, but like, he doesn't care to, like, he's good. But so I'm thinking, like, man, so it's the girl who's going out there and do this, which you would think overall it would be the guy who's out there wanting to mess around and come home.
Well, I think the girl definitely has a lot more options. And
For sure. Nowadays, absolutely. I heard a statistic a while back, too, that only 20% of men actually are physically active with women, right? Or let's just say physically active in general, right? That's a crazy number.
You mean sexually active?
Yes. That's that they are doing that. Only 20% of men. I don't know how they took that number, but like, you know, it is true because like I look around and I see there are. If you think about it, you know friends that are, and like, you know, dudes that you know grew up, you know friends who are your horn dog friends who had a different girlfriend. You had dudes who had one girlfriend for a couple months and they were single the rest of the year. They weren't touching anything.
Yeah.
Right? But it was always the same guys. It was never like, yeah, every now and then there's a transition in that. Right? But no, so it made that number in my head made me think too, like, yeah, like I had a couple friends that were better looking than others and they're getting ass, and I had other friends that were just at home chilling, like playing video games every night, and every now and then somebody got a girlfriend. Yeah. And they stuck to that girlfriend, and then when they broke up, okay, then they're back to the video game life, back to doing what we do, being guys night, whatever like that, playing pool or going for beers like that, and that's what we did, right? And it was always that same concept that, like, you know, certain people were a certain way. So I guess overall, this thing, man, like, you gotta find a situation that really fits you. Hopefully you got happiness, joy, you know, the relationship works, and no matter what happens, you've got two people that are willing to work it out, you know, instead of like, oh, this is over, like that, because in the end, like I said, I mentioned to somebody that sent a video on accident to his girlfriend, and she's pissed at him right now. Like, that could change their whole relationship. That could change everything. right? He didn't cheat on her, or maybe some people might think it's cheating, right? Like if you're looking at this, or there's some people who think watching porn is cheating, you know, like, and that's some people, right? But like, yeah, no, like, I think the narrative is always there. Yes, somebody will like, but actually, when you actually find out that, oh crap, he is looking, like he does send this stuff to his friends do send his stuff to him, right? It kind of it creates a new narrative now, right? Now we were here, now we're over here, now it's different. And I think she'll forgive him. I think they'll move on, eventually get married, it'll be fine. It's a one incident thing, it's forgivable, right? He's only human, but we talk about those human things, right? We're like, man, like, you know, we are hardwired to look at things like we want to make more people, you know? And like, you know, if you're in a relationship where you don't need that and you're happy with your partner, you have 3 beautiful fucking kids, and you're doing life, you know, great for you. You made it. Like in my book, you made it. That's like, personally, that's what I want in life. I want to find a partner. I wish I could have done this with the partner I initially had kids with, right? You know, and had that one continued on in life, building when we met and all that stuff, because that was 13 years ago, right? You know, who knows where I would have been if that would have worked out. But she's crazy, so it didn't work out. It wasn't my fault. I'm just saying, overall, you know, like nowadays, you know, like even just for everybody I know, it's rare when I find a chick that doesn't have kids, right? So okay, already in my mind, okay, that's the first couple variables that come up, because my two, right? You know, my kids don't like somebody, I'm having issues, right? So hopefully, when you get something where all the variables just mesh, everything goes forward. You find somebody that wants to build. Same thing with my friend. You know, he's got 1 daughter. She's got 3 kids, right? So like, it's like, holy crap. Like, when he's even told me that that's been the hardest part about dating her. She's amazing, but she came with 3 kids, right? Like, you know, so that's crazy too. So if everything blends together and you're there, like, you know, and you can come up to an agreement, or like, I don't think I'd ever want it, but like, you know, like every now and then, you know, we can go do something with it. We can add a 3rd person or whatever, or you can go do your own thing for like a weekend, and I get my weekend or whatever, and we just move forward. Like, I just think, and like I said, I know that that's not traditional at all. It isn't, but like, I feel like that's just the day it is. The day and age we're at is like you said, we have animal instincts, right? We have evolved, right? We're not just like, oh, we're not just spreading DNA in the world anymore for the species to continue. We've gotten past that. You know, we're so past. We know right from wrong. You know, we know all these things that are coming out now, like with all these crazy relationships, and we know people can torture other people. You know, so hopefully you find somebody, like, you know, if you're looking for a relationship that is on the same level with you, on the same page as you, wants the same things as you, and if something like that does come up, you're willing to work it out, and not to say, no, cut it, we're done. Now, all parties involved, we decided it's over. I mean, to me, that's something that scares the shit out of me, is meeting somebody being so awesome. You know, my kids falling in love with that person. Me, you know, that family, this becoming a family, doing great, and then boom, it's just over. Like, it doesn't just affect me. Like, I don't know, if it was just me, fine, right? You know, I'll move on, but like, I'm affecting my kids now at this point. You know, they're wanting happiness too. You know, all this stuff meshes together.
So let me say something on that. It's actually 2 things. It's funny because me and my wife were just talking about it last night when we were walking through the aisles at Walmart, because I was playing around with her, right? And we always play around with each other. And I was like, dang, dude, you don't even like me, right? I was like, man, you freaking regret ever marrying me, and you feel like you wasted the last 8 years of your life on my miserable, and all this stuff, bro. I was like, just like, because I'm dramatic like that, bro, and I like to play like real hard. And she's like, dang, can't believe you can even think that. It's the opposite. Like, I'm so nervous. I was like, nah, I'm just playing with her. And I was like, well, but then
let me comment. I think that's how you know you got a good one.
Yeah. And I was like, but on a serious note, I said, you know, as cliche as it may sound, I feel like, because this said a lot, right? I was like, man, I truly feel like I gotta give all the glory to God, because my perspective towards relationship is different. I feel, observing, it seems to be different, and that perspective is that whenever she gets on my nerves, and I think we have a mutual perspective. Her perspective is the same as mine. I think we look at our relationship the same way. Obviously from hers and from my perspective, we look at the same way. Is that whenever she annoys me, or she gets on my nerves, or there's miscommunication, or I feel like we're just not on the same level and we're disagreeing, or we're you know, arguing, whatever the case may be, my perspective is like, I feel like the outside perspective, the common world perspective or whatever, is like, man, how can I get out of this situation? Like, man, it is annoying, or whatever, she doesn't want to work, whatever, it could be anything. She physically, she fell out of shape, she's ugly now, I don't like her, I'm not in love, etc., right? My perspective is like, man, how can I make this better? How can I rectify the situation? How can I be better? What is it that I'm doing that I'm just making this situation worse? My communication, is it the way that I relate to her or talk to her or whatever? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's what I'm thinking instead of like, how can I get out? So that's the perspective. Now, I think that makes a huge difference in our relationship. Now, going on to what you said about the fear and how you're afraid, bro, I think one thing that really put me in a position of power in this relationship, again, is God, as it may cliche, but to practically get more specific on why that is because ultimately I'm looking for certain characteristics, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I found in life is that any human being has the capacity to let you down at any moment. And it could be they let you down intentionally or they let you down unintentionally.
Yeah.
So an example of intentional is like your girlfriend cheats on you. An example of unintentional is your girlfriend dies.
Yeah.
Right? Which is weird, right? And that's something that I experienced at 5 years old with my mom, you know what I'm saying? You can be experiencing security and emotional support and all these things from one day, and the very next day it's gone, bro.
Yeah.
And so one thing I've discovered and that I feel like is that me putting my faith and my trust in God ultimately is like anything could happen in this relationship with my wife, and it's going to be devastating, and I'm going to feel it and all of that, you know what I'm saying? But my belief system is that there's a God who is master of the universe, who can actually has the power to control the circumstances of my life. And not only does he have the power to control the circumstances of my life, he so loves me to an extent that he wants the best for me, right? And there's a verse in the Bible that says, for God works all things for the greater good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose. You know what I'm saying? And when you believe those things, man, like I said, it definitely puts me in this position of power because of that, from that, the way it actually practically manifests in the dynamic of the relationship between my wife and I is that I'm not going to be all jealous and envy of where are you going. I mean, I ask her where she's going, but I don't ask her where she's going from a place of insecurity. I'm just asking her where she's going, right? Where are you going to be at or whatever, right? But like, she goes to the gym, like I'm not, you know what I'm saying, following over, texting her to call you, she goes to see her friend and stuff. There's that trust there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it puts me in that position of power. And not only do I extract that from that, I feel like the life of Jesus is an example of that, bro. And I've felt that, right? Like I've told my story before, like, man, when I was in prison and stuff, bro. But I feel like literally, bro, like the way that Joe Rogan sometimes describes these supernatural experiences that he goes through when he's like on these drugs and DMT and all this stuff. That's kind of a good way, a good analogy that I could explain these kinds of revelations and epiphanies that I had about God when I was in prison, bro.
Yeah.
Like literally, bro, like I'd be reading the book and then all of a sudden it's like I would be blown into a vision, bro. And one of those epiphanies and revelations I had was how much God loves me and loves people in general in such a sacrificial, it's almost like a reckless way. There's this song, right? Oh, what a reckless love, and it's a controversial song made of theologians and stuff like, oh, God's not reckless. Whatever the case, to an extent, in a way, I believe he is, right? Because the concept or the principle, whether you believe it or not or whatever, the story that God would give his only begotten son, who was God himself, to come and become a man and then, you know, live a life, a sinless life, and then go to death on a Roman crucifixion, on a cross, to give his life for all, right? Not knowing who's going to love him back or who's going to retain his love. That's the reckless kind of love that I'm talking about. And so, if he's the highest ideal, and Jordan Peterson says that, right? Just from a psychological standpoint, whatever, the higher the ideal that you're pursuing, the better off you're going to be, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the standard you're setting, right? So even if we just pursue that as an ideal, whether it happened or not, so that's what I do, right? I mean, I believe it wholeheartedly, but even if I'm just pursuing it as an ideal, it's a good thing because he's showing me an example of what it means to love, to give everything you have and do it in such a reckless way where you're not holding anything back, but yet you still stand at any moment, stand the risk that you can lose it all from one day to the next.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And that's not what I was taught as a kid, because what I was taught, what my dad would always tell me, and these are popular Mexican sayings. One of them was, a la mujer ni todo el dinero ni todo el amor. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Sounds familiar, but give me the English one.
He says, never give a woman all your money and never give her all your love.
That was it?
And then another one that he would tell me is,
oh my God. I'm sorry, keep going.
Another one that he would tell me was, no te crees la mujer que llora or something like that. Basically, don't believe the woman that cries. You know what I'm saying? And my dad would tell me all that, and like, bro, it was like his wisdom that he was trying to pass on to me. But as I thought about it more and more, bro, I'm like, man, that's kind of, in a way, in my opinion, that's kind of like a cowardly way of living.
For sure.
Is that if you have some love to give, man, give it all, bro. It's kind of like the concept of like leave it all out on the field. Well, there's an aspect of giving it all that's risky, because if you leave it all on the field, what if you get hurt? What if you hurt your knee and you're never able to play again? You know what I'm saying? What if you give everything to that career or the pursuit of that job and you get nothing in return, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, I'll hold it back, but then you're holding back that little piece of you, and the reason you're doing it is from fear. Exactly. And I associate fear with cowardice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bro, what if you hold nothing back and you give everything, and bro, that's just so empowering, bro.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I feel there's aspects of your spirit now. I feel like I'm talking about spiritual, because the natural and the animalistic, bro, risk and all that stuff, survival, that's all animalistic. I believe now you're transcending and you're living life in a way that's really divine, bro.
Yeah.
And I believe that a lot of our human language comes from divine principles. Like, what does love mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What does honor mean? What does loyalty mean? What does allegiance mean? What does respect mean? Yeah. Bro, these are words that we've defined them. It's not really a definition. We've defined them over, all our human existence. We've come to define these words based on a certain way of acting a human being acts that we found to be conducive to the sustenance and the maintenance of human society, bro. Yeah. They're principles that we know they work across the board. They're objective truths, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like more and more as we go on and we secede and we give way and we yield to those more animalistic side of our nature, what's happening is that you feed this one and this one gets weaker. So loyalty, respect, love, and all, as you notice, they're becoming more watered down and more watered down and more watered down. You know what I'm saying?
And I definitely do, because it's like I see that all the time, and it's so funny how I see there's lots of videos now even where like I don't know what rapper it is, I forget, but he came out and he got really saying like, I'd rather have loyalty than I'd rather have love. To him at that point, like, love was not even a real thing anymore, because you can get hurt with love and all that stuff. Well, with loyalty, what is loyalty, right? It's a thing that it's like a commitment, right? Like, okay, like you're my dude, I got you no matter what. Like, I'm loyal to you no matter what happens to you. Like, I've got your back, right? And like, so I see that because, like, in love, what happens in love? You do things that you wouldn't normally do with love. You do all these things and it's like what you say too. And honestly, the whole point to me saying like, oh, like I'm fearing of my kid, it actually made my selective process way more difficult to find somebody, right? And that's what it is too, because yes, of the fear of, like, because like, yes, can I get with somebody right now? Absolutely, right? There's people in my DMs too. I'm not that bad looking, those people will probably tell me otherwise. But yeah, no, like I could have somebody at this very moment if I really wanted to, right? And anybody, right? There's like nobody, like, but do I want that person? There's a reason why they're there. There's a thing where I have 3 missed messages from that one third person, because I know, like, I'm not interested. Like, I could have done whatever I wanted with that person and then done it, but I'm like, why am I going to waste my time? Why am I going to risk stuff with somebody like a potential pregnancy or whatever like that, with somebody like that? I have no interest in being with them long term or anything like that. So I leave it alone, right? I guess the whole point is like that too. Like you said, when you leave everything on the field, all that stuff, and I get that. That was a great analogy, because I get that. Like, why not? Because the thing is, if you hold back something, right, and you have something good, that person might think, oh, like, well, he doesn't give me his all. I'm going to find somebody who does. So then you get left for not giving it your entire all. So I do agree with you on that, 100%. Like, I do think you should be careful and you should build that up over time, right? You shouldn't go all in on the first date, right? That could be scary. You could become a weirdo off of that, right? Or somebody could perceive you something like that. So yeah, no.
Well, actually, there's a healthy balance, because if all your love is in God first, then you're not that clingy type. Because a girl can pick up on that, and that's also a turnoff too, because it's kind of stressful and you get anxious, because as a human, you can kind of pick up on it, like, man, this person is like putting all their chips on me, dude. Yeah. And now I feel nervous because I'm like, dude, now I have to not let them down, and I have to. But when they sense it, bro. Like, my wife knows. She knows how much I love her, but at the same time, she knows that I love God more and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it extract and it removes the anxiety associated with, man, this person like is all in it, like I'm his everything. Like, nobody I don't think, whether people say it or not, I don't think anybody wants to be somebody else's everything, dude.
There are sociopaths out there, so
you know what I'm saying?
No, I get you. You're right, because I really do get that, because there are people out there that, like, man, like, like you said, and I've been in a relationship like that where like I did give a lot of person. I can tell, and it's funny how you said it now. I'm like, oh wow, like I see the kind of stress now. I see. I'll never forget these couple of things that this one person told me in particular. Like she was like, I feel like I have to be something now because you're doing so much for me. And my answer, I was thinking like, what do you have to be? I thought like this was a thing between us. I thought we were like, you know, I thought we had the same goal in mind, right? Which obviously it didn't work out, so we weren't there the same, or we were at least weren't on the same page, right? But yeah, I have given somebody a lie and thinking like, okay, it's like I said, I've been ready for this for a while. Like I know what I want in life, and you know, there was a person a couple years back where I was like, you know what, man, like I could do it with her. Like, okay, why not? Like, what is it? Like, you know, how often do I say that about a person? So yeah, I went in that way, and I guess she just wasn't ready for it or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, like I said, lesson learned, right? Because you're right. It's a lot. I believe you grow to that point. You get to that point eventually where like, we're both like, okay, well, he's everything too. Like you, like I said, I use this all the time. You build up to it. You build each other up, right? And yeah, right off the bat, right? I said that's a lot. Like, oh, does he have no life? Is he not done? Like you said. You have your beliefs that get you there, right? And that's awesome. It really is. Because yeah, I think like you said, it gives you a sense of power in your own head that like if things don't work out, you're gonna be okay. And a lot of people don't have that. You know, a lot of people go into something like, oh crap, and then no one's ever gonna love me again. Oh, I let myself go, and I was with them, working hard for them, and now I'm like this. Now I'm single, like so many things like that. But I think that's an amazing mindset, and like hearing that's the way you picture it out. And you know, like I said, a lot of people don't have the belief it's all on them. At least in my own head, since I'm not religious anymore. It's been a few years now, and like you know, I've always told myself it's on me. I gotta be that place. It's gotta be. And yeah, like I've had some emotional breakdowns throughout the years, thinking like, crap, like I'm not good enough, or oh, I'm not this, or I put all these weights on my own shoulders where I didn't have something out there. I didn't have like I'm gonna use like a light or a tunnel or something where like, okay, you know what? Like I still have something to look up to. Like it's gonna be fine. Like you know, there's something. And I don't know if that's just a way where like you know, I just told myself, you know what? Like I've always just told myself, you can make it better. Are you going to? You know, you can sit here and be shitty about it or whatever like that, and it's a different mindset about it. Definitely, it's definitely two different ways. I kind of like the way you said it too, because that's definitely a self-confidence thing. Where like, hey, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. Like, there's a plan out there for me, right? Like that's the thing. And like you know, and like people who are, I'm gonna use myself. Like if I don't have a plan going on to, this chick leaves me or whatever like that, or we break up. Then I feel like crap. Like, what am I gonna do now in life? Like, what do I do now, right? But like, I think the perspective and like just the idea of it, you know, like you have to be goal driven. You have to be doing things. You're that person. Yes, you can make them your everything, but like, let's call it 90%. But you still gotta have the other 10% going somewhere else. So let's call it either. Let's not even put a number on it. But like, if you don't have shit going forward, driving you forward, and you become that guy, like in a way, it's unattractive. It really is. And I thinking about it now because like yeah, no, like I've always thought of myself as a supportive person up until like this year really, where I was thinking like, okay, like now I want to do things for myself. I want to put myself at a higher point in life. But before I was always like, oh, like I'm just gonna get with somebody if they want to do something, they want to go back to school. I'll support them. That's cool. Like that's what I feel like I want to do. But I never put myself in that situation. I never put myself to want to do that work for myself. You know, so I do agree to the point now, and it's kind of like a little bit of an enlightening where I'm like, you know what, that's true. Like, why you gotta have stuff going on too. So even when the bad shit happens, you still have something to look forward to. You still have something to drive to instead of oh, it's over. She left me. I'm done in life. I'm never gonna love anybody again. All this other stuff. Which I've said these words in the past. I've done all this a lot of times because I was like, you know, I had work, and it's so funny because we won't get into this at all. But like, jiu-jitsu has gotten me out of funks like that. Where like I started learning something new, like holy crap, I want to be good at this, I want to do that. You know, you get a goal about it, or you make a, like I said, let's just say let's call it a point in life or a goal. Like you know, I'll use that, right? Even though like you said, it's a different thing from a religious standpoint. That, but like if you're not working towards something else, if you're not trying to do some shit on your own time, and you put all your chips into one person or whatever like that, like yeah, no, like it can break you when it doesn't work out and all that. Yeah. And like I say too, like it's also like, you know, and I can see it being that way on myself, like where it is kind of an unattractive thing where like, well, what are you doing with your life? Well, I'm just working, making my money, raising my kids. And we've talked about this too, like thinking like, okay, is that all you want in life? You know, if somebody's out here doing stuff, trying to go back to school, trying to make their lives better, or they meet you or me or whatever, they're like, oh, well, he's not doing anything, he's content. Like, well, they might want more or whatever. Like I said, it's unattractive. Like, well, then all his focus is just going to be on me. I have to be a wife right now. You know, we can't grow together. Like, he's already at that point. So, yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like, man, okay, like, you know, you got to drive forward, too. Like, I've heard this, too, in the past, too. Like, having stuff going on is a thing, like, not making, like you said, not making people your only priority, like, is a thing where, like, oh, they look at you like, oh, well, he has to go on. Like, you know, I have to fight for his attention sometimes. You know, I'm sorry, I'm going to stop with this damn thing. You know, you just have to have something going on because like, hey, he's going somewhere. He's not just here. Like he's not just here. Like I know I have to get his attention too. He's not just giving me 100% all the damn time, right? Which yeah, some people do want that. Other people see it as another way. We're like, okay, we're here. Okay, I was trying to think of another way to say it, but like, if you got something going on in your life and you tell the person, oh whatever, oh I can only talk to you at these times. Well, you're not gonna talk to me all the time. Like what the hell? Well, no, I got shit to do. You know, I think that's the thing also that makes you like, hey, like you know, you have your own, like you said, you're empowered by yourself. So like, you know, I still got shit going on. You're gonna come for the ride or not? Cool. Not that I still got shit to do.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, I know, like I said, yours is a religion-based thing where you said like you said, I only said that because we talked about the word plan. I think you know God has a plan for you, which is awesome, which I think is great. I think it's a great way to always look at things. You know, so I guess I think we can close off with that too. Like you know, it's one of those things where like we see it. I think overall, you look at it like, you know, what are you doing for yourself to keep going forward? Like, you know, you could be a supportive partner and still be working towards things, you know, knowing that, you know, it could work out or not. Like, you know, going, like, this thing is like, you know, you can't put all your, I guess you can. It's hard to say. Every situation is different, right? But no, like, have things going on for yourself. And then, like, you know, have things, and then, like, you know, so people are going to come and go all the time. It happens all the time. But, you know, if you get lucky, you meet somebody, they like what you're doing, they're also building, you know, you get a good relationship out of it, you both make each other better. You know, that's what I think that's, like, probably, like, the goal that most people have. Like, that's what you want. Because, yeah, no, like, the worst thing in the world is to get somebody on you and they hold you back. Why are you always spending time at the gym? Why are you always doing these things? Like, you know, it's kind of like they're asking, why are you making yourself better? Like, why aren't you happy being here with me? You know, you want somebody to push forward because, yeah, in the end, you know, like I said, you could live that old narrative where you could just have kids, get a full-time job, retire, watch your kids grow and die. That could be your narrative. If you're happy with that, cool. But, like, nowadays, I think that's something that's not really a thing anymore. Nobody wants to just do that. Just have your kids do that. Like, you want to go out and get as much money as you want. You want your kids to have nice cars. You want your kids to go to college. And you achieve all that by continuing to reach for the stars, showing your kids that, hey, no matter what happens, like, continue reaching for the stars and keep going. Because, yeah, like, you know, I've been there, and it's one of those things where, like, okay, you see it. And, you know, luckily, like, this year, I'm seeing things for myself personally, like, okay, now I have things to build. Now, like, you know, it's exciting, too. Like, you know, realty, where we started this podcast, now we're over here in relationships. But, you know, that's something that I'm so interested in. I can't wait to get into it. I can't wait to start, you know, get my license, start exploring the science and everything of, like, how to sell houses, how to, like, close, like, what it is, like, where areas. I don't speak Spanish really at all. I do know some, but, like, that was one thing my uncle told me first, that you better start learning Spanish, boy. He goes, that's going to be a big part of your clientele here. And I was like, heard. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not great at it.
Yeah, same. So like I said, it's just one of those things. So like now I have all this stuff working towards, right?
Yeah.
I'm not bored, right? I have things I got going on, right? So yeah. So since being single and going through all this stuff, I'm like, man, like I get bored. I do get bored. Yeah. You do want somebody. You do want some type of companionship, right? I have some dude friends that most of them are already married, and all that. So like that things out there, but like I'm happy knowing that now. Like when I go home, like I'm like now I'm looking at okay, like you know I'm looking at. You know, the data stuff that I'm looking at already, for my uncle and his stuff, you know, I'm looking at all this stuff already. I have things that I'm doing now, but before I would just be, okay, I'm at my girl's house, or she's over here, we're just hanging out, doing whatever. And as fun as that is, that's not getting me where I want to go, you know, and that's where that goal kind of originated too, where she put that was something that she had put out there about like, oh, like maybe you'd be good at that. And I'm like, oh, well, why not, right? But now that she's gone, the idea kind of lingered. I'm like, you know, I would be good at that. I should go do that. Yeah. Right? So like that's one of those things now where it's like, yeah, now and it's the funny thing is straight too, like, you know, now like since that relationship ended, I am talking to a few more people and it's just kinda happening. It's not a thing where I'm like, oh, whatever I'm searching for, right? Like when you're busy and shit goes on, things kind of attract to you. You know, it's so weird how that works out. Sometimes you're looking for something, and it'll never come up, or you're just never satisfied with what you find. But when you're distracted, things are going on, boom, hit you in the face, like, oh shit, now here's my new relationship. It just kind of came out of nowhere, you know, so, I don't know.
Dude, that's crazy. Man, we're already at 2:13.
Are we at 2 hours?
Alright guys, we'll go ahead and close this one out. Thank you guys for joining us, and until next time, God bless, take care.